Yeah. All right. I'm sorry, y'all. Silly me. Forgot to hit the live. So now, can y'all hear me in the chat? Hit one if you can hear me in the chat. All right. I just want to thank y'all for coming. What's going on? What the funk? How's everything going with you, sir? What's going on, Big Guy Journey? Appreciate you. Big Guy Journey, I did this because of you. I wasn't expecting to do my first live dealing with this issue, but I had to go ahead and respond because you asked, and I felt obligated to do so. So, I'm just responding to the obligation. Last night dealing with let's do some first of all, let's do some housekeeping. Everybody hit that like button for me. Let's hit the like. Let's hit the like. Let's hit the like. I want to thank y'all for getting up early. Hey, I'm gonna enjoy talking to three people. If more people come in, great. Big Guy Journey, if you after what I gotta say, you want to come up, cool. And let you get your voice heard. If y'all heard what happened last night, on the TLA show, dealing with Anton Daniels and the other gentleman. And I know that is probably extremely disturbing what y'all heard. And exactly how do we respond to such an action? And I'm going to tell you right now, I prayed on this, I've meditated about it, and we're going to make this a teachable moment. Number one, the greatest response is no response. So I feel that not responding, not trying to do a reaction video, not trying to do anything as far as what is going on, that's sometimes the best way to handle that situation. Hey, JP, how are you? My spirit is doing great. Thank you for coming by. Sometimes not responding to everybody is sometimes the best way to handle a situation. We are all young YouTubers. We're all young. We're all small. And this is a teachable moment as far as educating us on really how to handle maybe other content creators. We have to recognize that we are in the public space. We are in the public eye, and we have a reputation. Each one of us has a brand. Each one of us has a name, and we have to protect that name at all costs. And a lot of times, some people's motives for getting on YouTube, for getting those likes, clicks, and views are not going to be the greatest of motives. Welcome, Ingram Experience. Welcome, my brother. Salute to you. Salute, salute. Ingram Experience, I won't be on long. I'm responding to not blind guy, Big Guy's journey. He reached out to me, and I know you reached out to me for a collab as well. I'm basically responding to what happened on TLA. I did hear your response live on TLA. I totally agree with you. So I'm right there with you. So as I was saying, sometimes no response is the best response. But as somebody who is a minister, I like something that, Beefing that says, what about giving a plan, an action plan. So let's make this a teachable moment. So what can we do? What we should learn from this experience is this. No matter what, it's about your character. And I have to agree with Antoine. Our character is the most important thing we can have. Welcome, 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 welcome. Appreciate you. Hey, my Vivid Life. You know I'm tired, girl. You had me up all night with your live. But you know, I'm hanging in there. Uncle Stu is hanging in there. So I appreciate you. Just to recap, I'm on here as my first live, but I am really responding to Big Guy's journey. He reached out to me last night, and I'm gonna say this: I I am humbled that Big Guy journey even did that. I am very, very humble, and I don't take that very lightly. I respect that. Um, it was a very humbling experience for any man to reach out to another man and really see that somebody respects my thoughts, my vision, my views, and would even ask me to speak on it, to hear my knowledge and my wisdom on it. But also don't take it lightly. I also don't always want to be the sole authority of anything. I have a view, I have an opinion, I have thoughts, based on my own experiences, my own knowledge, my own research, my own studies, etc. But I also learned to listen to each and every single one of you. My name changed because of y'all. I originally was L.A. Stewart, the old man on the block. But because of y'all, my name is Uncle Stu, and it fit. It fit my character. It fit everything that I am. So I just want y'all to know that I listen to you too. And you know, so again, going back to the original subject, let's make this a teachable moment for all of us young content creators. What is a teachable moment? Number one, you have a brand. Your name is your brand. And you have to protect your brand at all costs. At all costs. Just like me, I have to protect my brand at all costs. Last night I had the opportunity to go up on the lead attorney, but I knew that I was not emotionally right to go up and to say anything. I knew that. I knew that if I went up there, I would have been speaking out of my feelings, speaking as a father, having thoughts that I shouldn't be having. And then I get on a public platform and say something, and I can make or cause more damage than I can cause harm. So for me, because I know that I've earned each and every single one of y'all's respect, and I've earned each and every single one of y'all's just coming here just to hear what I got to say, I got to make sure that I really, really speak well and really think through many different things. So I just want y'all to know that that's why I hesitated to going up on TLA. The second thing that we could learn, and my vivid life, Miss B Finesse and JP Randolph kind of really showed me: be quiet and just listen and let other people talk. And I admit I can definitely be a talker. Yes, I can. But I have to learn to be quiet. And what does TLA teach us? Be quiet. What did we learn yesterday in the idea of being quiet? We really learned a whole lot about that other individual. We learned a whole lot. And when we sit here and we listen, we got to sometimes let people tell their story. We got to sometimes allow them to say who they really are. We got to allow them to, even if it's the worst thing that they can say, we got to allow them to just say it. Welcome, Friendsgiving. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We got to allow them just to speak, even if what they say is the most grotesque thing that they can say. Now, I'm not saying that if a person is cursing or being extremely disrespectful that we have to accept that on our platform. No, you control your platform the best way you know how to control your platform. Second thing I learned, I learned something from Antoine last night. I'm not cloud chasing Antoine Daniels. I'm not here to get, the biggest likes, clicks, and views by going after, Antoine Daniels in the sense of him and saying, hey, I'm gonna attack Antoine because I want the likes, the clicks, the views. I want to go whatever. It's not what I'm here to do. But what I did learn from Antoine Daniels is when I think about Antoine on the Lapeef show, let's be honest. We know that Antoine Daniels can go after people. We know that when people are disingenuous on the Lapeef network, we know Antoine's going to go in. But you know what I saw last night? I saw Antoine Daniels that was extremely restrained. Extremely restrained. And in that restraint, I learned something else. He tried to the best of his ability to hold the gentleman accountable. And he refused to be held accountable. He refused. And in that refusal, you still got to learn a whole lot. And what was it that we had an opportunity to learn? If we sit back and really think, we had an opportunity to learn the mind of an alleged pedophile. And if we don't even want to say alleged pedophile, how about an alleged predator who preys on the hurts of women? This is a gentleman that preys on the low self-esteem of women. And for a lot of us as men, older men, I didn't just hear him go after daughters. I heard him go after the very women that Ingram experienced, that big guy journey, that myself, that TLA, that a lot of us older men are trying to really help. Think about it. Men, who are the women that are being hurt over and over and over again by men just like this? So when we're out here trying to protect, provide, lead, our call to action as men is to rise up and say to women, we don't accept this. We don't accept this predatory behavior. We're not accepting this. We're going to rise above this. Antoine Daniels said something else that was very interesting. He says, I don't align myself with everybody. I don't align myself with everybody. And we have to have that same mindset. We have to have that mindset that says we can't align ourselves with just anybody and everybody. We can't do it. I'm very particular who I align myself with. Now I'm a cheerleader. I'm a champion. I'm a champion for my brothers doing right, and I'm a champion for my sisters doing right. I'm a big champion. But if I see that you have content and I see that your character is totally off, I can't align myself with you. It's not that I'm judging, but I have to even protect my brain. Let's think about it. What do we try to tell our kids? Right? Don't we teach our own children? Birds of a feather flock together. So if I'm aligning myself with, let's say, a group of men that is doing bad things to women, And I said, well, I'm aligning myself because they're black. Or I'm aligning myself with them because, they're men. And we all going to stick together regardless. No, we can't have a regardless situation. Men, we got to set the standards. We got to set the standards because many women, especially on YouTube and even off of YouTube, they're looking for us to set the standard. Today is Sunday. And the Bible says, raise up the standard. Regardless of what women are doing, regardless of us blaming them for feminism, what's going on in the court system, all of that stuff. Regardless of anything, we as men has got to set the standard, not only for women, but for men. We got to. We got to. We may not like it, but we got to. This is not a business. This is my business. Yes. As a business, I'm in the business to make money. Yes. But the reality of my business is exactly what I say. My business is to empower men and help women understand the men that they love and want to be with. I'm all up for the battle. I'm all up for cheering my sisters on, for cheering my brothers on, whether you're in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s. Yes, I'm all up for defending the manosphere. I got it because I understand it. But at the same time, we also have to put our foot down when things are predatorial. Whether they're predatorial against our daughters under age 18 or against our 20-something women who happen to have low self-esteem. And we as men, we know the game. We can't fake the funk. We know the game. We know that it's easy to go after a woman without a father. Come on, we know the game. We know that it's easy to go after a woman who has low self-esteem. We know the game. But what makes us better men? When we know the game and don't play the game. Welcome, Community Solutions. Welcome, welcome. So as I said, we know the game. And we as men has got to keep it real and teach women what's really going on. They got to be able to see us as men, that there is men in the manosphere that aren't predatorial people. There's men in the manosphere that are not running around doing this. Let me tell you something else that I heard. I don't know if you realize, but he evoked the manosphere. He boldly named two men in the manosphere. One is very well known in the manosphere. As a matter of fact, he's very well known in the, quote, red pill community. And I'm going to tell you something. That is what sparked my ears more. There's a lot of men that will just jump in and say, I'm accepted in the manosphere. And how many of us, especially if we've been on female platforms, how many times do we hear the women complain about what they're hearing in the manosphere? And sometimes we as men, we got to step up and we got to say, no, 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 no. We don't accept that over here. No, we don't accept that. Those of us that's deep in the manosphere, sometimes we got to let women know that there is standards we have in the manosphere. We heard women say, well, who's doing this and who's doing that? We heard O'Shea Du Jackson a month ago made sure that Fresh and Fit wasn't part of the manosphere. He got a whole YouTube channel that he said Fresh and Fit is out. Why? Why did he say this? Because none of our platforms is going to be about getting women drunk on a live and then doing foolish things. We're not having that. We're not having that. Osage Jackson, Kevin Samuels, Obsidian Media Network, they're holding us men accountable. They are. While asking at the same time that women hold themselves accountable. They're really sometimes showing the double standard. Trust me, I speak on that too. And I get it. There is some things in the manosphere that can be heartbreaking. There is some conversations that sometimes might be overwhelming, misunderstood, because if it's taken out of content and context, yeah, it could sound real crazy. Real commercial break. Yes, we're going to definitely be throwing up prayers for NTR, hoping to hear what's going on with him. The third thing that I heard last night, in which I'm going to invoke Anton Daniels. You know, Antoine said, who do you surround yourself with? And I'm going to ask each and every single one of you as content creators, and I'm just as brand new as you. Who do you surround yourself with as content creators? You know, we can learn to start getting people around us. For me, I've made sure that I've surrounded myself with people that know me personally. People that will hold me accountable when I'm not on YouTube, when I'm not in my studio, but they're going to hold me accountable. My daughter is one that holds me accountable. She sees every single video I post. Sometimes she'll float down these YouTube streets just to hear what I'm saying. So every word that I say and all my actions is being seen by all of my daughters. Everything. I have friends that holds me accountable. Why? Because if I get too egotistical, all of a sudden numbers start flying, we can be in real trouble. And if there's anything that we need to learn from watching YouTubers fall, is what happens. They get the big head and they don't allow other people to hold them accountable. I let y'all hold me accountable. And I would expect y'all to hold me accountable. Hold me accountable for doing good live streams. Hold me accountable for making sure I put out decent content. Hold me accountable for the words I say and the actions. And y'all have done that. Whenever I'm on someone's podcast and they invite me up, I'm a guest. I'm not the host. Y'all hold me accountable if I talk too much. Y'all hold me accountable if I say the wrong things. And you know what? I don't take it personal. I take it as a development. I take it as a development. So if y'all want to come up, I got more to say, but I just want to hear what anyone else got to say. This is my first live stream, so I'm learning how to do all of this. So just bear with me. Love y'all. So I dropped the stream. If y'all want to come up, I'm learning. I don't have nothing called a moderator, so I'm behind the times. But as they say, I'm flying this plane as we go through. So I dropped the stream. I'm trying to see how all this stuff works. So if y'all want to come up, come on up. All right. What's going on, my brother?
Hey, what's going on, brother? I
Look,
love it, man.
you can say you beat TLA. You yes, you know.
Hey, congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Can I get the echo out of there for you, man? Hey,
Okay.
hey, let me tell you, man. I watched your stream. I rock with you, man. I love the things that you're saying because I think it's so important that people understand the difference between real people like you or me, and then somebody pretending to be something on YouTube. And one of the reasons why I immediately developed that connection in terms of your information and what you're putting out there. I can tell a real dude from a dude that's just pretending to be somebody on the internet for, to make money.
Thank you.
And one of the things about providing value to people based on life experience and sharing your experiences is you're more interested in helping people and less worried about, fame or money or whatever else. And I appreciate that about you, brother.
Thank you.
You know.
Thank you.
But I was a little disturbed last night, especially with the guy, man. I mean, there was so many different red flags about the guy. The sunglasses, the sociopathic behavior. And when he would talk about these things, he kept looking down. You couldn't see his eyes, you couldn't see his soul, you couldn't see into who he was as a man. And I think sometimes we give too much credit to people with poor character just because they have money. And that's the biggest problem, you see. I mean, obviously, this was a low quality human being. And obviously, before he even, there's this thing in law enforcement they call no victim, no crime. Obviously, he can say certain things, but if you don't have no victim, you know what I mean? What do you really have? You have nothing. Because he can, where's the victim? You know what I mean? He can say certain things, and you're like, but I think it's also a foolish man. I don't get the idea that he think that branding himself in that type of way would do anything other than label him a predator or a criminal. The logic of it just didn't make any sense to me, brother. I'll be honest with you. I was like, this is a businessman that's making these type of decisions. You'd be better off branding yourself as a murderer than as a child predator. You know what I mean? I don't get the logic of that, but
right.
Yeah.
Let me. You said two good things. You talked about where's the victim. Can we say that we have a lot of women who has been, just speaking as a man, that we can honestly say we have a lot of women. I see you, JP. I'm gonna just stay right there, JP, in the studio. I'm gonna talk to the brothers. Stay right there. Don't move, and then I'm gonna pull you up. Can we just say as men that we have a lot of women who has been victimized, but they don't realize it?
Absolutely. And what we're dealing with also too, when you're talking about in terms of me and you, I mean, I'm 47 today, actually.
Oh, happy birthday. Happy
Hey,
birthday.
thanks a lot, brother.
Happy birthday.
We're older men. We have a certain duty and responsibility as men, as mentors, as leaders, as protectors of our community. And there's a certain resource that comes with being men, a certain experience and knowledge. And your job is to protect and provide for the community at large. And to think that a grown man uses that experience, that knowledge, that responsibility, and he turns that into preying on young ladies that lack the experience. Maybe they don't have the right type of parental structure. Maybe they're misguided. So you're taking that and you're preying on children who you're supposed to protect, children. And that's something that's supposed to garner you support on the internet. And that's the disturbing factor. You see that sociopathic disconnect with society, with people, with your duty and responsibility as a man, as a father, as a responsible human being. And it just he had no connection with it. It's like a sociopathic, where you talked about accountability, where people in your family, people that hold you accountable for the things you say, Even some of the videos that I make, and sometimes I get the text from the women, be like, knock it off, Roger. You know what I mean? Like, I have to like, all right, no more of that stuff. But there's checks and balances. I raised 3 boys. I mean, I have my, you know, a 21-year-old, a 24-year-old, 26-year-old. I have numerous women that are cousins and nieces and all that stuff. Like, there's checks and balances in life. And what you saw from that guy was like he lived in a world, sociopathic world of his own. And again, I call it creeps on the internet. You know, it's
Right.
just the
I
way it is.
understand.
You know.
I understand. Let me ask you this, and then I'm gonna move on a big guy journey.
Mm-hmm.
I have women in the chat using this experience. How can we take this experience? What can we teach women so that they don't get caught up with a man like this? Whether I'm dealing with 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, or 40-year-olds. And I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to let you answer that question. Here's a reality. There are many men who are in business, who make money, and still have sociological, pathological issues.
Right.
You know, whether they're athletes or whether they're businessmen, whether they're the drug dealer, we got them in all sociological, economic spheres. So we can't just, you know, apply it just to him, you know, and we even can't apply it just to race because we got white men that do it, you got black men that do it. So this is an issue that is happening. But how do we protect sisters? Because these are the sisters that get hurt by these men. And then 5 years later, 10 years later, they coming to us, but somebody else done broke them down. And they're hearing us say, oh, we don't want to deal with you. We mad at you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you broke, busted, disgusted. And this is where we as men got to sort of say, okay, we got it, but we also can't be disingenuous and not acknowledge that these type of men are out here, because these are the type of men that is destroying our community and destroying our future mothers and the future.
Well, I hear you, and here's the thing: it goes deeper to me than just the situation. I did a video about the R. Kelly thing, and in that video, I asked, "Where's the male lion that protects the pride land?" Okay, and years ago, like I used to always get into an argument in law enforcement, and I work in cities like Camden and Trenton and Newark and whatever else, and even if you look at some of the situations that's going on in like Chicago's with the high crime rate and whatever else. And I always used to say to people, crime is a symptom of a problem. And what is the problem? All right. And if you knock on every door in these communities, first of all, the socioeconomic situation is bad. People making $30,000 or less a year. And then you go knock on every one of these doors. And what you'll find is single mom, mother and children. The absence of men. And that's one of the things that has to be corrected with the family. Even though there are some families that still have dysfunction within them, but who's really protect? And the Bible talks about the uncovered woman.
Right.
I mean, the reality is this: you have a daughter, and I have sons and whatever else. The most scariest thing in the world is that father coming at you with a shotgun. And you thinking, that's the checks and balances. Because I always used to tell people, like, in terms of protection for communities, men are the ones that's supposed to protect their communities, protect their families. And so a guy like Glendon, if he's dealing, the biggest problem is fixing the family structure. And and what we didn't realize with so many years of the destruction in the family, whereas for whatever reason, we can go with the government, how men were out of the household. We can go into the whole socio-economical, political argument about it, but not having men, responsible men, benevolent, Men, like I always say, a ton of resources need to be put into men and boys in the Black community. Not no girls. There's enough girls. There's nonsense all there. Men are the protectors of the community and providers of the community. Wherever you see the men fall is where the community falls. And people may disagree with me or call me whatever, but there needs to be a patriarchy in the community. And it's guys like Glendon that need to see that father with a shotgun and understand that's the first number one protection for women. We have to fix the family structure. And it's hard really to say how women can prevent these things because we're dealing with a lot of leadership issues and socioeconomic problems. A guy like Glenn has a lot of money. So I would assume that he's taking money and he's giving this money to this maybe mother, the single mom in a bad situation economically. And he's exploiting his wealth. He's exploiting financial situation. And she's probably, messed up too. So the question is, my always question is always this. I know people are going to be, where's dad? And because somebody comes, if I see you, Uncle Stu, Uncle Stu's got a shotgun somewhere, ex-military guy. So I always say the fundamental problem is you got to get at the core of the virus. The virus is you can't have a 23% marriage rate in communities. You can't have situations where no men are around, uncles, fathers, brothers, and whatever, protecting women. Because nothing holds a man accountable faster than seeing other men that are willing to drag him in the street and beat the hell out of him.
True.
Or get injured. That's the first protection for women, accountability for men.
True. Hey, big guy Journey.
What's going on, Unc?
All right. Let's hear from you, my brother. Hey, Ingram, if you want to hang out, I want you to hang out. I'm going to pull you in the back. I'm going to pull JP up after I hear from big guy Journey.
Oh, I appreciate it. I love hanging out with the brothers because I think like these dialogues we never really get from real brothers. You know what I mean? Like I am who I am. You are who you are. If you want to get the real,
thank you so much.
Yeah, I hang out with you guys, man.
All right. Yeah. Like I said, I'm learning. If I accidentally cut you off, just jump back on.
Yo, that's all right, brother. I got you covered.
Okay. All right. So yeah, man, I appreciate you. Oh, he cut.
No, I didn't mean to do that. Told you I'm learning this.
That's all good.
Yeah. I told you I'm learning how to do this stuff.
I was like, man, does he that kick me off? Okay. But look, man, I appreciate you putting this live together. When I reached out to you yesterday, I was in that same mindset. You know what I'm saying? I was very heated. I was hot the whole show, ever since the very beginning. I understood where Lee was coming from when he said he wanted to add the nuances in. And but I just know because I'm a man and I've been out in these streets. And so I know what I'm looking at. So when I saw it from the first time, I knew what I was looking at. I really ain't need all of that other stuff. I knew, you know what I'm saying? There's a legal aspect that he may not go to jail about. But that ain't got nothing to do with how I feel and how I operate. Because I do hold men accountable. And I do protect women. Especially those women that are around me. They know. Like anybody knows, you're not finna get around. You're not finna get away nothing like that. I got an 18-year-old daughter. I got little nieces. And so when I hear that kind of that kind of perversion going forth, like for me, it's an automatic, you know. And so as we looked at it and we let the guy talk, he just dug himself deeper and deeper and deeper. And at one point in time, he talked about a 10-year-old girl sitting in the picture. And so this was my thing. Because if I see anything that look young, I ain't even got to go evaluate to see what age she is. You know what I'm saying? And so like what's going on with this dude is really messed up. And I feel like we can't give him no room. We can't give dudes like that absolutely not a centimeter of room to sit up there and spread this stuff, because it was very predatory for women, but also to men. And I'm gonna show you how, because he was targeting some of these lost guys in a red pill community. This is who he did this for. He did this because he wanted to get a certain audience and get them to following him and idolizing him, trying to be on this cool stuff. You know, it's this fake alpha male bull crap. You know what I'm saying? Like, that ain't what alpha men do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Trying to act like we like trying to teach. It's almost like teaching you how to run game, but he did it. It's more teaching you how to be a predator. He said it. He said it right out of his mouth. Look for the ones that don't have fathers. And I know that's what people look at, because that's why with my nephews, my nieces and stuff like that, when they do stuff, I go and make sure I let my face be seen, because you less likely to try to pull something over if you see a man. And then the next thing I want to real quick touch on, because you talked about this. Another thing Lee was saying was, some people are going to be on Anton's side, some people are going to be on his side. I don't have a side. I'm on the side of what's right. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
just because my side aligns with what Anton is saying, that's why I'm gonna rock it. You can put me wherever you want to do, wherever you want, but I'm gonna be on the side of righteous, because if Anton get out of line, I'm gonna have that same energy for him.
Right.
If you, Uncle Stu, get out of line, I'm gonna have that same energy for you. And we got to get out of this mindset of being so organizational minded. I see this in politics. I see this in churches. I see this everywhere. You pick a side and you stick to that side no matter what. We cannot do that. We got to stand on the side of righteousness. I mean, y'all heard me say some stuff last night, some stuff that I'm not proud of now. You know what I'm saying? But I'm grown. And as a grown man, I think different. And although I've never been predatory from that standpoint, I've done my fair share of wrong things when it comes to grown women. You know what I'm saying? But guess what? Now that I know better, I got to do better. And so we can't keep on letting these dudes come in here with this nonsense. And I'm starting to hear some static and stuff, but I don't think it's on my end. I don't know. But yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. And that's why I reached out to you, man, because I really respect you. I respect your views. I respect your take. And I knew that you had what it took to come and deliver what is actually needed. I think that women need to see us talking about these kind of things, because we ain't standing for everything. That's flat out. And I don't care who high up stands for something like this. I'm not going that way. I'm my own man. I stand on my own too.
Yeah. You touched on, when you went back and you spoke about Antoine and character, I have watched, I don't get a chance to watch a lot of Lapeef show.
Yeah.
Number one, it's coming out of Chicago, so that's a whole different time frame. And yeah, I'm on the YouTube streets, but I got a little of a life too. You know what I'm saying? So I gotta learn to balance the two. But I've also seen Antoine go to the left, and Chicago Rilla would bring him back in. You see what I'm saying? So this is not Antoine just a wilding out dude. This is a man that says, hey, I can be wrong. And if you can show me wrong, I have the ability to change. So I have seen even Antoine being held accountable by, Chicago Rilla. And these are the examples that we got to uphold. Let me ask you this, similar to what I asked Ingram Experience. We have women in the chat, and I'm going to go off of certain things that we talked about last night on My Vivid Life. These women want to really learn. They really want to learn. They really want to hear from us. And I don't think that and I'm not trying to throw jabs at Steve Harvey, but he didn't keep it real with understanding certain things. So what would you teach these women? What do they need to do to be protected from these type of men? Because as I said before, we have to keep it real. We know these men exist within that community. We know they exist. Yeah. And it's not just a black thing. we know they exist across the board. So
Okay, I got
if
it.
these women don't have fathers, or they don't have, a bunch of men surrounding them, we know the low self-esteem women. We know the women that, yes, you said it perfect when you said the women who got 3 kids, got that financial issue, and you and I know that they're the easiest to prey on. But just because they're easy doesn't mean we have the right to go in there and do more damage just for our own fleshly good.
Yeah.
So what do we teach these women who might be in those positions, how to protect themselves from men like this?
Well, I think ultimately it's going to boil down to like being proactive, because I think oftentimes once you get in a relationship with these guys, it's probably going to be already too late for these women. And this is one of the biggest things I tell people, women all the time. Listen. First, listen to those people who are around you, because I've told women different things many times, just to see them go and do the same exact thing that I advise them against. That to me is number one. No, because I believe that you got to have that community. You got to have those people around you, just like we got to have people around us holding accountable. But also you have to be watchful. You got to look and see you can't be so caught up with a man's look, with his wealth, with all these different things, that you start ignoring all of these red flags, because that's another big thing too. I mean, I literally have seen women make excuses, just like TJ said on her thing yesterday, make excuses because they were lonely or they were desperate. You can't be like that, especially when you have children, when you have small children. I've had women that would ask me, would I go take can you go wake my daughter up and have her go to the bathroom? And guess what I'm gonna say? Absolutely not.
Right.
They ain't telling me to go take her to the bathroom. They telling me to wake her up and have her go. That's not my place. You don't be lazy in parenting. And this is what I tell my sisters and everything. Don't be lazy in parenting.
Right.
You got to be watchful of everything. You got to be watchful for your cousins, they little bitty cousins that they play with. Stop being so lazy and so connected to social media and all those different things. You got to be watching everything, right. Especially if you ain't got their dad. I say their dad because for me, I believe the father is the main one that's going to be looking to protect. I'm not, as a man, if I get into a relationship with a woman, I'm going to protect her children too. But I don't be wanting women to put full trust in me, because I feel like if you put full trust in me, you're going to put full trust in the next man. Now, and I think it changes, you know what I'm saying, once you get married to a man, because you have vetted him and you know more about him, unless you just this desperate or something. But I think that you got to start opening up your eyes, because people give you signs. That dude Glenn, I would have knew that. He didn't have to say that. I would have already knew. If I never saw him before, but if I was around him in real life, I would have already knew that this was a dude that character didn't align with me. And so I think that people can see things, but we just tend to ignore them. If that makes sense.
It does. Teach the women at least 3 signs. Three signs versus the trigger. Because I'm going to speak on this thing called the trigger. But what would be 3 signs, that a woman would be able to see or hear that says, hey, something isn't right about this man? Let's be the big brother to our younger sisters. I see you, International. I'm gonna bring you up. What would be 3 signs if you had to tell women to really look for, or even 2 signs that we as men would pick up immediately, but they can't pick it up?
Well, I'm gonna say this: like, any man who is comfortable with your children, your daughters being like, provocative around, them and stuff like that. Like I've dated women and if I see their daughter in some short shorts or something like that, I'm like, nah, you know what I'm saying? And so I think like if you comfortable with that kind of stuff around you, I think that's a sign. You know what I mean? I think women should automatically be teaching their daughters not to dress like that. But a lot of women don't. And then sometimes if it's around the house, they feel like it's cool. But a man should not be sitting up in your house and feeling comfortable with that. And so for me, I think if he's comfortable with that, that may be something that you need to look at. I think that if he always is trying to spend time with your children, I think it's a line. Because I think that sometimes like we can want to show you that, I'll be a good father. And some dudes are really good with children. But I think that it's a line there too, because, I mean, if I'm trying to get to know you, my whole thing ain't all about the children first. I mean, that's just me. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get to know you. I don't even really want to meet your children right away because I don't want to like have them looking up to me as a father or nothing. And especially if I'm not going to be around, you know what I mean? Like that's just the character and the morals that I have. Like I don't want to just be always doing stuff with your children to start off the relationship with, because I think that hurt children as well. But we're so I mean, those are the small signs for me. I had never really given this a lot of thought, but I'm going to think more about that because I think that is something that that's something that is very important. I think it's a good question that you posed.
When should because you said something and I've had that same experience, but I want to hear from y'all versus me giving mine. When should a woman, or what should be a time frame that a woman introduce the children to a man?
Okay, it's okay. So I think that you shouldn't introduce him as like, this is my boyfriend or this is the guy that I'm dating, until you know that it's serious and it's possible to actually move into something else. I think that you could they could eventually end up meeting this person, but I don't feel like it should be like, this my boyfriend, because I think that it's like a cycle. A woman has a boyfriend this month, then 5 months later she has a different boyfriend, and then she has a different boyfriend. And so I think that if you're gonna get them around just to see how they interact, I don't think it needs to be on a boyfriend girlfriend man woman level. But the time frame, I think it can vary. I just think that you just need to be very mindful, and it really is going to kind of go with the person and who you think who the person is, because I think that at our age you shouldn't be taking a whole long time to date. You know what I mean? Like I mean, bro, we 40 and 50 years old.
Right.
We shouldn't be dating for a year. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
we should. I mean, seriously, you should have enough. You should have enough knowledge about this person, to know if it's going to be serious or not. You know what I mean? Like you should start knowing how serious it is, and then you can move more accordingly based on that. So I don't necessarily have a exact time, like a number, but I think that you just gotta. It is going to kind of vary with the person.
Okay, let me say this, and then I'm going to bring JP in.
Okay.
My question would be, because you said the 40 and 50, but a lot of these damaging experiences happen with 20 somethings.
Yeah.
So for the moment, what would we tell a 20 something girl, young woman? Say she's 20, we give her the age of 22. She got 2 kids already. She done dealt with Pookie and Ray Ray.
Yeah.
So now we need her to get with a real man.
Yeah.
But she's always bringing men in within 30 days. So this was your 22-year-old daughter. we'll just call them mistakes. She done made her mistakes. She done got with the Pookie and Ray Ray. She got these two kids. Here come this man. What do we tell her? What do we say to her?
It goes back to listening again, bro. I'm trying to tell you, like, I've warned women many times and they still did exactly what I warned against. And so the biggest thing to me is to have other men that can vet that person for her. She's not going to probably see it herself. You know what I mean? And if you don't have a father, you could go to your uncle, you could go to other men that you have respect for. But I think that there has to be other men involved because we see things that they just don't see. And I'm telling you, I literally have told women so many times that, bro, no, not that dude. And they all, I have a friend right now who I told not to get involved with a person, and she ended up marrying this person, and he gave her hell, and now she's divorced. You know what I mean? Like, this has happened many times, and so they just don't usually take wise counsel. I feel like they need to take wise. You have to get wise counsel with these kind of situations. I don't feel like it's something that she's gonna be able to do on her own most of the times. That's just how I see it.
Okay. Well, if you want to hang out in the back, I'm gonna get JP up, and I got Intentional Millionaire also in the back, and I'm gonna pull him up as well.
Okay.
So if you want to hang out in the back for me, and then I'm a kind of pull a play on how Miss B Finesse do it. I like the way she do it, which I put everybody in the back. Then I'm gonna pull y'all all up, and then she's gonna love these words. Then we gotta have a call of action.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. All right. Okay. JP, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
How's your spirit, Unc?
It is good. It is good.
I am glad to see you live. I'm proud of you being up here. You're doing big things, moving really fast. Moving really fast.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm also thankful that you took up this call to action. I saw Anton's video on Friday. And so Friday night, I had my first bit to say, and I wanted to see what our community would do. I know there's a feeling amongst some of us that we shouldn't stand on our blackness at some point, but it's our women and children and who are being snatched up and taken off the streets by these predators on a regular basis, to the point of 100,000 in the last year alone. So we have to be mindful.
JP, hold on one sec. I want you to hold that thought. Ms. B Finesse, I've been trying to figure out how to make somebody a moderator. I do not know how to do it.
You have to do it on YouTube.
Oh, I got to do it on YouTube?
Yes, so if you're in StreamYard right now, go up to the top where you see the YouTube emblem. Click on it. It's going to say View in YouTube. Click on the View in YouTube. Go there.
Okay. Go to YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Now, you'll see your chat. Click on Miss B Finesse's name, and then you'll be able to make her a moderator.
Okay, so I go to my videos.
No. If you're inside of StreamYard, look up at the top. You see where the YouTube.
I'm inside StreamYard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You see the YouTube symbol up there, with the green check next to it.
Yes.
Click on that.
Click on this.
And then go to View in YouTube.
View in YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
It says continue in YouTube.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I hit that.
Yes.
Okay.
Now you should see. Go ahead and mute it so you don't get an echo.
Okay, so I hit that. Okay.
Now click on Miss B Finesse's name in the chat. With the three buttons, little dots. And you'll be able to make her a moderator.
Okay.
All right. Now she has a wrench and she can help with the likes and the other things.
Okay. All right. Appreciate you.
No problem.
Okay.
Sorry,
All
give me a
right, Miss
sec.
B Finesse, you are the moderator. Thank you.
Okay. So, as
Miss
a
Gail, I just learned how to make people a moderator. I just want you to stay in the stream, and then the next time I do my live, you know I got you, Miss Gail. I feel honored that you would be a moderator for me. Go ahead. I'm not going to cut you off no more.
It's okay. It's all right. I think that one of the things that we need to talk about is mandatory reporting. I really wonder if the number of people who watched that stream yesterday who are required to, who are mandated to tell when they think that there is some type of abuse, have reached out in Georgia to say anything. But you asked the gentleman what you should teach women. And I had to call my daddy after watching it. Thankfully, he's still here, and I get to do that. So I asked him some questions on what he tried to teach us as young ladies. And so one of the things that he said is don't introduce a new man as a mate because it sets your children up for making him believing he's an authority figure. So if you're going to bring him into your house or bring him into their life, introduce him as an associate or a friend and let them get to know him that way. And you can read their body language to him as a regular person versus a man of authority in their life.
Suppose, because you're blessed. You still have your dad. And one of the things that we are constantly being echoed about is women don't have fathers. What do they do?
Um, they should seek male counsel in someone older and wiser. Even though my father is here, I seek outside counsel always. I made it to the manosphere by looking for ways to communicate with my sons better. My father didn't raise sons, he raised all girls. And so I needed some other outside support. I will say this, if a man is showing overt interest in your children, and because if you're a single mother, you have to protect your children no matter what. So some of the movements are going to be the same. If he's paying overt attention to your children, if he's asking you questions about whether or not they're in relationships already and they're just barely into puberty, if you bring him to the home and for some reason he's venturing away from the safe spaces, the living room, kitchen, or bathroom, these are all the things that my parents told me to be mindful of to protect myself and my children.
Let me ask you this because um, there's a reality. And here's a reality. Some of the games men play is they look for women, and he made it very clear. Um, they look for women who don't have fathers, who may have some children, who has low self-esteem, and we know they're out here. How do we reach these women and teach them, quote unquote, the game? And I hate using that word, the game. So I'm going to say, how do we teach these women how to protect themselves? Because here's what I hear from the women side of the wall. We call them the Pookie and the Ray Rays, but now we may need to add another one: Pookie, Ray Ray, and the Predator.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of us is trying to, fight that image, but it's out there. And we as men, we got to be honest that we got the Pookie, we got the Ray Ray, and we got the Predator. So, and one thing that he did is called edging the law. And I'm going to teach women what that means. I'm 54. The law says I'm not allowed to have sex with anyone or do anything sexually to a woman under the age of 18. So I'm going to edge the law and I'm going to deal with an 18-year-old up to 22-year-old. Any man that's 50 years old or average 50 years old is not going to want someone that's their own children's age. So for me, and I'm just speaking for me, that's still edgy. But by law, and we heard TLA say the law and the morals is two totally different factors. So you could do something legally and escape the law, but morally, you are way out of line. So what can we? I'm gonna do an early call of action. What can we say to these 20-year-olds or 22-year-olds when they look at somebody like Ingram Experience, or they look at somebody like me with the gray hair already, and they say, "You don't know what you're talking about. You're old. You're this. You're." What do we say? Where do we? What do we do? What do we do? What would you want us as men to do?
To be honest, the, our women need two things to happen. There needs to be a hit in the cognitive dissonance, which is what I would say that Kevin Samuels is doing. But they also need men to be foundationally there. For some reason, we say we will be there as a people for one another, but we don't follow through on the standing by part of it. The work of love, the work of compassion, the work of community, standing 10 toes down no matter what it is that happens, right? And
Right.
it's hard because we get hit in the fields, we get physically hurt, especially our men, physically hurt, trying to be foundational. And so there's that line that we're worried about crossing. But if you are, I will say this, gentlemen, if you are in a woman's life and she has children, if you've already been introduced into their lives, watch them. Understand who they are as young people. They're already people with their formed experiences. See how they move, and then say, hey, I think that little Johnny might be doing things differently. Has they been around anybody new? So on and so forth. If you're a father, if you are a stepmother, whatever the case may be, start to talk to their mother about what these things look like. She's going to look at you sideways a little bit and wonder whether or not you're doing it because you're trying to hide the fact that you're a predator. But being there and being foundational and showing that you're about protecting her and her family will maybe help her to soften enough to hear your words. Our women are too hard. They're fighting as tribes of one to protect their children from this thing. And maybe that's how you have to come at it. Hey, listen, you're tired. Put your burden down. I'm right here. I'm willing to be here just as a foundational man. I don't want sex from you. I don't want to be involved in your life in any other way than to make sure that you and your children are covered in care. Can our men do that? Can they approach these families that are already made and say, listen, no, I don't want to be in your life as a sexual partner, but I can stand beside your family and make sure that no one is going to come and injure them. And I would say to women, including my siblings who have young children, daughters, if that man did not physically abuse you or mentally, if it wasn't abuse, if it wasn't a crime, figure out how y'all can work it out. Get him back in the house. Y'all don't have to be a couple, but get him back in the house so you're not watching everything by yourself. You cannot do it. You can't. It's too hard.
Let me see how you respond to something. Because I'll tell any woman that there is a legitimate manosphere argument. And I'm gonna give you the argument. The argument says, I'm the good man. I didn't damage you. I didn't produce those children. Why should it be my responsibility to take on the mistakes of that woman and deal with those children that biologically do not belong to me? And just to add a caveat, I might get caught up paying child support for children that are not biologically mine. How do we handle that argument? Because that is a legitimate manosphere red pill argument.
Um, I get it. I feel it. Like I said, I'm the mother of 3 sons, and I don't want my sons to have a ready-made family. I talked to my dad about that too. I'm a stepdaughter, technically, even though he's the only father I've ever known. And I asked him how he did it, and the reason why he did it was because he was the son of a single mother, and he understood how difficult it was. So when he met my mother, he could see the worth in her and was willing to do that work. What I will say, you shouldn't have to do this work, but understand that these children will be your children's peers. They'll be a part of your children's community. When you aren't here, and your children still are, the struggle will still be there for your children because there was no one there for their peers. So if you can find a way to care enough about your community and your children's foundation, generational growth, if you can put that before your personal things, right, then maybe there's an opportunity, a chance. But that's where it has to start. We have to be able to put our community and foundation and generations over our individual needs. That's what everybody before us did.
Got you. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to let Intentional Millionaire on the show. If you want to hang out in the back, being that all of us is a small community, I think I'm Miss B Finesse already know I'm going to steal one of her situations. I'm going to put everybody in the back, hear what everybody got to say, and then towards the end, I'm pull everybody up. And in the words of Miss B Finesse, I'm going to give credit where credit is due. We need a call of action. All right? Okay. Hang out with me. What's going on, sir?
Hey, how's it going, Uncle Stu? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I hear you very well. I want to thank you for stopping by. You know, how much of the live stream have you heard?
I pretty much heard most of the live stream. I kind of heard Big Journey. I caught the Ingram experience when he kind of was wrapping up at the end, and then I caught Big Guy Journey's standpoint. And then I just kind of caught PJ's. But I just kind of wanted to say, as far as some of the solutions go, I really like kind of what the Ingram experience stated. Pretty much what everybody shared.
Right.
But I think everybody as a whole need to play a part as a community. I think one of the resolutions should be that when somebody get identified that's a predator, we need to start sharing it amongst the group so everybody can be aware. Because I think exposure is the key at this point. It's kind of like how the how having social media, having a video phone, having our phones where we can record, we put a lot of stuff in the forefront, which allow other people to get exposed that may not have been exposed before. So in this case, I think it's more or less where we as a community have to start sharing when we know of individual family members running into predators. That's the first thing. I also think that we got to kind of do a good job of, I think Big Guy Journey touched on it well. The women have to really start listening to the information we're providing them, because they normally the ones could be at more of the risk, and then it's more of a down the road. That's when a lot of the trauma really hit them.
Right.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Let me ask you this: Did you see TLA's live last night?
I saw bits and pieces of it. I didn't see all of it, but I did see all of Anton Daniels' one.
Okay.
I was gonna go back and finish looking at his probably later today.
Okay, I won't go over it because I'd rather you see it for yourself and kind of get the full context of everything going on. So let me come at it from this angle. We always talk about, especially amongst men, women who deal with Pookie and Ray Ray. But we never talk about the actual predator, meaning
That's correct.
that brother that may have the good job, that brother that may have some status in the community, whether it's let's be honest, whether it's the athlete, whether it's the businessman, you know, whether it's that brother that has that's a supervisor on the job. We never really talk about the predator because he comes in all shapes, forms, fashions, and colors. My question would be, what can we teach women how to protect themselves against a brother like this? Because what I said earlier in the live stream was, we as men, if we be totally honest, we've seen this type of brother before. The one that preys on the women that have the 2 kids and they're in a bad financial shape, or the woman that has extremely low self-esteem issues. You know, we've seen it, and we know that guys prey on these type of women. We know it. We gotta man up and fess up about that particular sector of men. How do we protect our sisters from those types of men? Because let me just put that out there, then I'll speak later.
I think part of it is going back to, I think what PJ stated is, you know, having them ask the right questions. Also, Big Guy Journey kind of stated it as well. They need to get a man's perspective, and they need to allow a man to help them vet. And then the women, the single moms, need to really start understanding that it's important that they get male figures in their life that can kind of help guide them. The challenge though for the single mom is though they don't know how to pick those type men. So I think that the advantage they can have now is coming to social media and reaching out to other married women and asking the questions. Asking, you know, can they provide a resource? Can somebody, you know, kind of help them out? And then I think as for the men, I think the men need to make themselves available to help the community. And not just act like because it's not somebody that they directly tied to or is part of their family that it doesn't matter, but it does matter because every good voice that provide guidance is another inch for the community. It's kind of how I look at it. So I think that that's kind of where we can start. I think asking the right questions, plugging into, you know, the communities that's in front of you, because like I like to say now is, you may not have a male role model or something directly in front of you, but you can come to social media and find it. That's one of the things that PJ stated. She stated that she has sons and she wanted to better be able to understand raising men, so she came to the manosphere.
Right.
So I think we got to just kind of re-emphasize and provide the guidance for a place where people can go to kind of get some of the information. Okay. Because it's two sides to that. Because on the same token, the women also have to be more mindful of just continually having kids and not finding a committed relationship. Because we are prone to, you know, mistakes. You know, we do things wrong. We don't know. But, you know, when you start getting to 2 and 3 kids and it's the same pattern, then that's when it goes from a person is just lacking some level of accountability, and somebody needs to step in and kind of tell them, hey, you shouldn't do it this way. But the challenge that we always have is, do a person just choose to listen or not?
Do you see the comment that I have? Trash Can Wade said something, and I'm not gonna. I'll tell everybody on my platform. I struggle with this every single day.
Well, I kind of. Well, yeah, can I kind of comment? Because yeah. It's a double-edged sword. Right. Because you have some people, the trauma didn't happen. So, for example, you have some people they have took advantage by a predator, and then they get older before they really realize that they need help, things like that, because they just didn't know. And then you got the other side where people do know and they just decide to do what they want to, and they want to blame everybody except for, you know, the actual themselves.
Right.
So I think you just got to kind of, what I'm saying is, I just think you got to kind of meet in the middle, because you don't know a person's individual situation until you know their individual situation. You kind of see
Right.
what I'm saying? So I
Yeah.
think it needs to be in the middle, because the victim mentality people, they're going to wean themselves out by not even taking the information and the guidance anyway. We're not talking to those people. We're talking to the people that, you know, was realistically victimized by a predator. They didn't really know because they was young. And then what ends up happening, now they're seeking the help, but they kind of got some trauma. So we want to provide some type of information and guidance for that type of person. And I think that's what we're speaking to, because I think too many times when we say victim mentality, we don't leave that area for, it is people out here that just don't, they're not in the environments to know.
Right.
So, you know, I think, you know, it's a fine line there, but I think you got to kind of speak in the middle. And that's kind of what I would say to do, because it's easy to sit back and say victim mentality, but you got to understand some people been touched and, you know, things like that when they was younger. And most people don't know is when that trauma happened, most people stay stuck where the trauma was at.
Right.
So they
Right.
can't move on. So they might be older in age, but they mentally stuck where the trauma was at.
Let me dig into that. Let me just hear your thoughts. Not my thoughts, but yours. You said something, and I think I really want the chat to really hear that, because I hear the same thing too. Being a little bit older, I kind of can hear the difference between a woman who has been a victim of predarization
Mm-hmm.
versus a woman who just don't want to be held accountable. And I
Right.
think there is a dialogue or a how can I say it? Sort of like an education that's not really out there.
That's correct.
Can you speak to how does a man discern or relate or can hear the difference between a woman who has been legitimately victimized versus a woman who legitimately is not holding her own choices accountable? Because I think that's a very thin line.
I think the first thing is when a woman can identify she's self-aware and she asks the man for help. That's the first thing. I think a woman that identifies that she had some level of trauma or some breakdown somewhere, and she get with a man and she asks him for help because she legitimately don't know. I think that's the first sign of a woman that wants to be accountable, but she didn't never know where to go get the resources. But then again, you take a woman that's have been and don't want to be accountable, I think it'll speak for itself, because they're gonna always put the responsibility on somebody else. And then the next level is everybody that knows somebody that been in these situations should automatically recommend counseling. And then if they decide if they say they should go and then they actually take the action and go, then that lets you know that they have a level of accountability. They're taking up accountability, because it takes a whole nother level to accept that you want to go to a professional and talk about your problems or your situations or whatever the case may be. So I think that's how you can determine the difference. But then you got to have the conversation, because one of the things that you kind of talked about is, well, what do you kind of say? Well, I think one of the things to ask is, I think in court, you got to ask certain questions to pique people's interest in what their roots. I think women should ask men or research the man and see if he on a predator, you know, he's on a certain website about his previous background. I think women should even ask a man, how do you feel about an older man dating a younger woman under the age of 18? And look for their reaction and their response. Because I think what you're doing by doing that is, one, you're digging into seeing how he react, but also two, you're also putting on the forefront things that you don't believe in, and you need to know, because now if he said he don't believe in it, and you find out later he do, then you know you need to cut all ties right out of the gate. So I think it's still a conversation. Is it 100%? No. But I still think you got to put things up front, ask the right questions, and then let them respond so you can take mental note as you courting and dating. So you can then know that either this person just a straight, tell stories. But most of the time, most predators are kind of arrogant. So you take this guy that he was very arrogant because he has money, he has resources. And that's the thing about the guys with money and resources. They just so arrogant that they pretty much let you know what it is.
Right.
But if you never ask the question because you fascinated with this resources and this stuff, then you miss these type conversations. That's why I tell people, and not to talk about my channel, but I'm just tying it in. That's why I tell people it's not just about money. It's the character of the person. It's the heart of the person. All money does just expose a person's true heart in their evil intents or their good intents. That's it.
And I'm glad you re-emphasized that, because you'll see the stream. Anton kind of hit that, and that really hit home for me, which was, money only is going to expose the true character of a person. You're 100% absolutely correct. Let me ask you this, and then I'm going to try to bring everybody that's back there. If anybody want to join the stream, you got something to say, I dropped the link. I'm going to drop the link again. Please come on up. Let me ask you this. This is something that I hear floating around when I'm traveling the YouTube streets, especially going up into women's spaces. A lot of women is going up into the manosphere. They're visiting various podcasters in the manosphere, and they're hearing a whole lot of stuff, but they're not quite getting it, because we know that there's two sides to every story.
Right.
How would you teach them to navigate in the manosphere when they're honestly saying, hey, we want to understand, we want to get it? How do we guide them to the right sources within the manosphere? How do we teach them? How do we teach them how to drive?
Well, I would say is I think they got to do research. They got to really sit and listen and look for guys that marry up to what type of guy they will also want to be with, or what type of guy is providing the information that kind of align with their own morals and values. So I think that's kind of really what that means. But what that does is it puts responsibility on them understanding and being aware of what do they really want and what type of result do they want. So what that means is they got to be clear on if they're dating, they're single, they're looking for, particularly a Black man, then they got to align with somebody that's kind of like the type of man they can see themselves with. It's kind of like, I like to say, when a woman comes from a two-parent household, most women normally want a man that's similar to their dad if he was a good man.
Right.
So it's the same concept. It's just that somebody you don't personally know, but you're just looking for key bullet points that can align you with somebody similar to what you would like.
Gotcha.
Then you got to become part of the comment section, Patreons, and ask particular questions and see how they respond. Get on the panel, ask your questions. I think that you can't really, judge or find out about a person if you don't ask enough questions to find out what do they really feel, because response and reactions tell a lot.
Right. But
you got to get good at questioning. And then, but what you do is you'll start to find a group of people that you can kind of you have some similarities, you have some same beliefs, and then that's the kind of things that you lead. And then, I would say a woman need to get good at taking notes on what they want, taking notes on what they're listening to. Be mindful of the information they put in their head, because sometimes the danger of women, in my opinion, sometimes is women will spend more energy on a person they do not like or not going into the direction they want versus putting energy into the direction that they do want.
Okay.
Excellent. Because it'll get more information according to all the bad stuff of a person, because we know bad news travel faster than good news.
Right.
So we got to then revert our energy to what is the positive, what is the takeaways I can bring into my particular life. And then let me see if this person that's in the manosphere speaking, how can that align with what I ultimately want? And then become, make contributions, and then ask questions and see how that relates to them.
Okay.
And I think PJ kind of did a great job explaining that. She said two major things. She said that she consult with her dad, but she said she also consult outside of her dad because her dad only raised girls.
Right.
But then she also said she has all men, but she wanted to make sure they're good men. So she went out to the manosphere and she aligned herself with men that speak in the language that in the type of information she want to raise for her son.
Right.
So I think that's when women got to look for these type of streams and then find people that say key things that align with what they want. I think PJ is a great example of a woman that women should be kind of tied into. Miss B Fitness is another great example. My Vivid Life is another great example, because these women, they have experiences that they're sharing because they want to fix the problem, just like you and I want to fix it from a male perspective. They want to do it from a woman's perspective.
Right. Right. All right. What I'm going to do, I'm going to bring up everybody.
Okay.
Make sure I'm doing this right. All right. I'm looking like a pro up here. Y'all better thank Miss B Finesse. She been the one who's been making sure I get it right. Miss B Finesse, can I get one in the chat? I did keep my mouth shut for majority of my stream. I am learning from you. All right. Let me. Is there anybody that just want to add, being that everybody had an opportunity to kind of speak their voices?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Well, I'm listening to the millionaire. I think he makes some very good points, and I think one of the biggest problems that you see, obviously, there's a lot of things in our culture. We see the influence of popular culture that encourages women to focus a lot on material goods, materialism. You see the WAP culture, the encouraging women to be promiscuous, encouraging women to lower their standards. So there's a lot of negative influences in the culture, and we're dealing with a situation structurally with the family where there's no checks and balances in terms of having the right masculine type presence in there.
Right.
But one of the things I always talk about is, obviously, like for instance, we look at, you have a military perspective, I have prior law enforcement and other things. What is the baseline and what's normal for certain situations? Okay, if it's in the middle of August and this guy is wearing a full fur coat and winter gear, obviously there's something unusual and crazy about this guy, right?
Right.
So
right.
If women use the same type of analogy, for instance, here's a guy. Okay, I'm a guy. I am not married. I have 3 kids, 21, 24, 26, grown men. I understand the responsibility and obligations that come with raising kids. So a guy like me, if you see, I'm retired, I've had a successful career. I do a certain amount of time. I volunteer, maybe at the Boys and Girls Club, whatever, but that's it, I'm done. A guy like me is not going to be eager to try and meet your kids or bond with your kids. To be honest with you, guys like me are just trying to be a third wheel on a vacation, but I'm not going to get into that. That's a whole other story.
Hey, that's honest.
If anything, you know what I mean? Look, I'll meet you in the Bahamas. I'll meet you in Jamaica. We can go to Jamaica together, but,
Right.
Guys are that guy who's extremely eager to meet your kids, to meet your family, to be around you with your family and kids, that's a red flag. Because for me, most guys are going to be interested in that woman. And most guys are not really interested in raising another man's kids. Guys can lie. See, a guy like me, I'm off the rail. I'll tell you that. I tell women the exact truth. Men generally don't want to raise other men's kids.
Right.
And really, a lot of people don't understand it. Sometimes it just comes with the situation with the package. But generally speaking, that guy just wants to spend time with that woman. And when a guy acts off that baseline, you know something is a little off. He's like, oh, I don't mind. I want to hang out with the kids all day long. That should be a red flag. Just like the guy wearing a full fur coat in August, or walking around in swim trunks in January in New York. Right. It should be off. But the signs are usually visible.
Right. What you got to say, JP?
I'm in agreement with what My Vivid Life has to say. It takes an entire community in order to be able to get this done. Two parents are great, but even when we were in a society where we had two parents, we still depended on the entire community to get our children to and from school safely every day, to get them to and from the grocery store every day. When I called my dad and talked to him, one of the blessings that I did have was that I did the same as him. 20 years between us, obviously. He was able to walk around his neighborhood and go to get candy from the store and not have to worry about being harmed. I had that same luxury. My children did because we were military middle class, but their peers don't. So someone like me has to teach my children the privilege that they have, and that they need to go out and tell their friends what a difference it made in their life. And then we as adults also have to do a better job of showing up for children that don't have our bloodline. Just because they are not our blood does not mean they are not our children, and they are not our future. They could be the spouse of our children of the future. They could be the next greatest whatever, given a foundation of people that care about them, and that's community and village.
Okay. What you got to say, millionaire?
You got to pull him back up.
Oh, I lost him.
He's there.
All right, okay, wait a minute. I have 4. Okay. Hey, Black Belt, I see you here, man. Proud of you. If you want to come up, I'm gonna drop the stream. Black Belt. If you want to come up and add a voice to this. Oh, okay, I got international back.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry.
All right, there you go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I want to say I apologize.
Hey, that's okay. Was you able to hear what everybody else just said? I don't know if he can hear me.
No, I didn't hear all of it. I was getting back in.
Okay. Basically, from this point, what would you want to add to the conversation? I got him muted on this side, but I think he's muted on his side.
Do you have him muted, Uncle Stu?
No, let me see. No, I don't have him muted. Okay, he's coming in on a different stream. What I'm going to do, I'm gonna bring you and Ingram down, all because I have community solutions on. I'm gonna bring her up to add voice to this conversation, and then I'm gonna bring International Millionaire back on. So I'm gonna pull y'all down and pull them two up.
I'm not hungry. I don't know why.
All right.
Were you gonna go to work?
Yeah, but I was gonna go to lunch first.
Community solution. I got you on now.
Hello?
Yes. Can you hear me, International?
Okay. Am I clear? Because we're driving.
You're clear.
I thank you so much for this. Okay. Thank you so much for doing this topic. Um, I had so much
You're
to
welcome.
add. I've been all up in the chat. You got some really great panelists up here and really good insight. Um, I just believe that this is why I'm a real strong proponent. My channel is a strong proponent of keeping the nuclear family together. If we can just keep the man in the household, then we ain't all got to carry the load. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And people say, "Oh, that's not possible. That's not possible." Of course, it's possible. Of course, it's possible. If he had the fortitude to make this child, see, this is a part of the problem in our community. We have people that we're carrying the load for, and this is why I told you. By the time y'all get to the good women, they so ran over, busted, and disgusted, they don't want to be bothered
Right.
because of these types of dudes, which it's not like I told you before, it's not always Pookies and Ray Rays, it's gold and dusties, men with money who I told you about the ones who come to the project and they at Ford F-150, brand new, spanking new Mercedes, and they're just making babies and not signing the birth certificates and they
Right.
slide on out. I'm in the community doing work with these girls that are on the street, 14 years old, and you get them off, you clean them up, the mama put them right back out there. And I want y'all to hear me good, okay? Because it's real. So this man that we're talking about on here, we're referring to, he
Right.
has a plethora, a playground of parents who are ready will from I don't know if it's from the crack generation, they just generational addicts. I don't know, but you say, hey, because I used to work back in infectious disease back in the 90s with people from this population, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And they would have young children, well, not young, but 18, 19 out there on the street. You trying to tell them, hey, babe, look, why don't you go to school or let me show you maybe another. They don't want to hear that. Not when they can pull $500 a day on Figueroa Boulevard. No,
Right.
ma'am. No, ma'am. So when he says he had the Craigslist thing and it was full of children, it didn't surprise me because we have this sector underclass that is it's real. It's real. I was about probably 7 or 8 years old when crack hit, and it was just a bomb in our community, and our people lost our morals and values, and you got predatory dudes who like these type of women on the boulevard. You pull up in a nice car. She got her daughter too, because guess what? She's not ran through. She got a son. Let's talk about the men. We have
Right.
predatory women. I have so many men tell me and confide in me about being violated by women. That's another topic, but we
Right.
got we got to do better. We really do.
What I'm going to
So
say,
I really
community. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no finish. I was just about to wrap it up. Go ahead and
Okay.
finish.
Um, what I'm going to say, community solutions, it's something that hit me early on in the chat, and I will say and be totally honest. We in the manosphere, we do talk about the Pookie and the Ray Ray, but I have not personally ever heard about the Predator. And after I got off the live stream with my vivid life, it really hit home for me that we talk about women choosing the Pookie and the Ray Ray, but there is the Predator, and we don't really talk about him enough, and we don't even begin to bring it up as that major subject. So it's something that has to be discussed. It's something that has to be talked about. And early in the stream, I made it very clear that we as men, if we going to be totally honest and totally open, we know the women that have the low self-esteem. We know the women that got the financial issues, and we know how to prey on these women without even recognizing the damage we're causing. And I'm using the word we because sadly, whether I like it or don't like it, it's still a representation of us as men. I don't have to say I've done it, but guess what? I know it's being done. And if I didn't speak on it, what they say, if you're not speaking on the evil, you just as much as a part of the evil. So, it's one of those issues where we don't talk about it enough, and we don't really go out to teach women the difference between dealing with a Pookie and a Ray Ray and how to protect yourself from the predator. And that predator is in every culture. It is in every socioeconomic group. We know they're out there, and we haven't really talked about it. We haven't talked about it. So, I'll be the first man in the manosphere to say, hey, I'm sorry that we have not really educated other men about this type of a man. So hopefully this is going to be the first day that we bring that to light, and to let women know that we as good men, we don't accept that kind of behavior as a man. We don't accept it. We're not accepting it. And today I'm boldly saying I'm not accepting it. Not just because I have daughters, because I'm not accepting it even on anybody, on any 20-year-olds.
I
I
agree.
don't think you even have to have daughters to say, hey man, that's just not right. What else you gotta say?
Why is my mic not coming off?
I'm gonna let you know I can hear you if you can hear me.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay. My mic is red. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
No, no, I don't. Like we talked about last night, I don't have children, but I work very keenly with children in the community, in the underserved neighborhoods and stuff like that, and different programs and things. And it's terrible. You look at certain zip codes, you see it full of predators, and the kids just be walking the street. Mama got to let them walk home by themselves to the house from school because she got to go to the second job. You know what I mean? That type of thing. So we just got to, those of us who are, and I'm in agreement with I'm sorry, the lady who was saying that they're not just other people's children, they are our children, right? Because we got to live here when these kids grow up. So you
That's
can't
very
just be like,
true.
oh, it's just my house. It ain't my problem. It ain't my problem. No, ma'am. No, sir. I don't need you coming up to me with no gun or beating me, taking my cane out my hand and beating me to death because you've been done wrong in life.
Right,
I don't want to be a party to that, as well as God is gonna hold me accountable and ask me what did I do. You
right,
know. So
right,
what did you do to help? Because I sent you, and what did you do? You know.
right.
And so that's something that I'll be talking about more on my channel, and I'm going to email you so we can chop it up because I like your style. I like how how you care, and all the people, all the panel, and all this whole little group, this little crew that we got. I like how we care. You know what I mean? We're
Right,
good-hearted people and things like that, and we need more of that in the YouTube streets instead of this foolishness with nothing but gossip and people gossip and got millions of followers and all this plethora of money. I'm over here trying to buy diapers and have a diaper ministry and try to have men's groups so the men can talk and open up a store so our people can get fresh fruits and vegetables. And I'm trying to make $1 to 15 cents. So do I need to start a gossip channel talking about foolishness and celebrity and rich people problems or what?
right.
Get this money, you know? Shoot, out here, get us a missing ministry, and some detectives and stuff to look after people getting snatched, men, women, and children getting snatched, bruh. The
Right,
organ, I mean, this is an evil world, man. You
right.
know,
Matter of fact, there's another podcaster um called Crim. Oh man, just forgot her podcast. She is actually getting ready to do um My Vivid Life. What is that podcaster that is getting ready to come on at 8 o'clock tonight to talk about women being disappeared out of the Atlanta area? She was on your show.
was
Uh,
that criminality? True
yes,
criminality. I think I
yes,
subscribed to her. Yeah.
yes. So she
Hmm.
is actually going to be doing a show. So I'm definitely going to, chime in on her podcast tonight. So that's another one. That's
That's
another
great.
one.
Yeah. Yeah, I
What
told
I'm
her that
going to do,
mm-hmm.
what I'm going to do, I want you to stay on. I'm going to drop you an international millionaire. I'm going to drop you to the back as well. Because I got blind guy, his wife in the back, and I got black belt in the back. And I want to kind of give a fresh voice to this conversation.
Can you mute me?
I sure
Uh,
can.
okay, because something wrong with my phone. Okay.
Okay, I sure can. Hey, hey, my blind guy, his wife, their life. Welcome to my first live stream. I didn't think that my first live stream was going to be on this kind of a topic, though. So
Yeah, that's why I'm here to say congratulations on your first live stream.
thank
Definitely
you.
congratulations. And you're doing a wonderful job. So this is just beautiful. And unfortunately, it's not the best topic that we all want to approach. It's not flowers and roses, but it's necessary. And I'm just proud of you for taking it on head first. I really wanted to come on to say thank you for bringing this up from the man's perspective, to say, what can we do? What solutions can we really provide? So I really appreciate what you're doing with that, as far as, saying, look, these other gentlemen are telling us, you're saying it as well. Watch out for this type of behavior. Men, let's not present this type of behavior, where we're preying on not just children, but the women who don't know better. Because a lot of people think, well, they're 18 now, great. And it's not okay. Not just because they're 18, they don't know. They don't have the mind of an 18-year-old, like the intentional millionaire said. Some people are stuck wherever they were hurt, or just even if they weren't hurt, some people are just not mature. They are not on certain levels, Some of us have been here before. People will say that. Okay, either way, I appreciate, you bringing it up from the perspective of woman, and not just the woman, not just the children, but also the men. Because the young men, how will they ever know better? How will the older men ever know better if they don't have this type of guidance? So, job well done. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I'm going to give more of the kudos to Big Guy Journey.
Mm,
Um, Big Guy Journey reached out to me after the TLA Live went on.
mm,
And he really reached out and was like, we got to talk about this. We got, and he used the word ASAP,
mm,
and I was like,
yeah,
wow, this, I wasn't disappointed. I was very humbled that he
right.
reached out to me. I was humbled that he felt I had the voice to speak that topic,
Hmm.
so it was very humbling. And so I said, wow, my first live, I was thinking all other topics. I was like, oh yeah, my first live, this is going to be Miss B Finesse, because the first person that had me on her first live was Miss B Finesse. And, this ended up coming up. So if I had to give back to Miss B Finesse, I could say she was my first moderator,
Right. There you go. There you go.
and then Gail showed up. I said, well, Gail, you have the day off. It's going to be Sunday. You just stay in the live. You just stay in the stream. I'm going to get you next time. But
Yeah. Also, excuse me, if I can just add that I don't know if you saw Gail's message that she can't chat. Like, for some reason, only her emojis show up. So I don't know if you blocked her, Miss B Finesse. Nah, let's blame Miss B Finesse. It ain't you. Let's blame blame anybody but the host, right? This and plus this way we can keep our beef going between me, Miss B Finesse, fighting over you. You know what I mean? So let's blame her. And yeah, let's do
so,
it.
look, she got the wrench now.
Oh yeah. Miss B Finesse, you know what? I love Miss B Finesse. I am so happy that Miss B Finesse has been such a role model. She is amazing. Miss B Finesse is the absolute best. She's wonderful. Don't block me, Miss B Finesse. All right. Okay. I set that straight. Woo. Set that straight.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't want to say much because I'm still cooking. I cook a lot. We eat a lot around here. And I had to finish the breakfast muffins and before I got started on lunch. But It's a community effort. And I appreciate the community. You know, we're all doing our part. We're like, okay, we're strong parents. We're trying to be community oriented. We're watching, but we also know what's happened to us. We also know what we've done. We also know what situations we've been in, and we need each other. So thank you.
You're so welcome. And I thank you. And I thank your husband for putting me on your podcast
Oh, yes.
and allowing me to speak and everything else. And I'm just here. See, see the beef done came to the block. See,
See, dang. I'm gonna get myself together. Get
it together. But no, I thank everybody. I got that hidden producer behind me. I got my daughter, Miss B Finesse, has been a wonderful woman to allow me on her channel and teach me how to shut up, even though Uncle Stu, even on everybody else's block, and just be trying to take over, But in all honesty, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna give Miss B Vanessa credit, y'all credit. My Vivid Life, y'all's been very supportive, and now I got a live, so I gotta do what I gotta do.
That's it.
And I gotta recognize that, instead of complaining about the problem, I gotta be the voice and speak about the problem and do it and give women a space and a platform that they can come to and hear the strong men, just talking and really hashing it out.
That's it. Absolutely. I'm going to just say goodbye and I'll stay in the chat. I'll hang out while I can.
Okay.
This is great. Keep it up. I don't know how long you plan on going for your first stream, but congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Hopefully it'll be ending soon, because then I'm gonna get in trouble with Miss B Finesse, because I think she's getting ready to do her live around 1:00.
Oh, okay.
And if I bump heads with her, then that's gonna be some insurance money my kid's gonna get real early.
Right. We ain't trying to do that. Right. We trying to get you to enjoy the grandkids before you
know what I'm
check
saying?
out. Yes. Well,
but again, I thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
well,
you
I will
so
say
much.
goodbye for now, and goodbye to you, Black Belt in the black suit. Great to see you. Always wonderful to hear your input. So thank you both, gentlemen.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. What's going on, sir?
How's it going? Can you hear me? I got a new mic. I want to make sure it's going through.
Oh man, you got that Barry White thing going on, man. I gotta keep the women off of you, bro. You still got work to do, man. I appreciate you coming.
No, absolutely. I just pulled up your live, so I didn't catch the earlier parts, but I can definitely give just a little bit of my input on the topic. So essentially, the way I look at it is, yes, absolutely, women have fault and responsibility to carry into this. However, I've always looked at it from this aspect to where within all races, of all civilizations, of all cultures, the men are the ones who lead the group. And we as men, pretty much 9 times out of 10, women aren't going to do anything unless the men co-sign it. Right. If the men don't say we're going for that in terms of physical beauty, or the men said we're not putting our money behind this, women aren't going to do it. They're not going to do it because regardless of whatever, culture says about anything a man can do, you can do. Women know, nah, that's not the life. They know I don't want to have the same responsibilities and hardships that men go through if I can avoid it.
Right.
So absolutely, I think men, we're the ones who have to set the tone for, is it legal to have sex in the state of Georgia with a 16-year-old? Yes. But we're the ones who have to make it, I guess you would call it, a unspoken law of, nah, we're not going with that.
Let me ask you this. I like what you said. And for everybody that's in the chat, Miss B Vanessa stream is at 2:00. I'm so accustomed to her weekly stuff. you said unspoken. And can we now, as men, say it's time for that law to be spoken? In other words, I said it early in the stream, and I'm probably going to be trying to really deal with it today to try to figure out how to have that conversation. Amongst us men, both young, middle, old, in the manosphere, even O'Shea Du Jackson, let's just put it out there. We always talk about the Pookie and the Ray Rays. And we always talk about it. We speak about the Pookie and the Ray Ray. We speak about the Pookie and the Ray Ray. We speak about holding women accountable, and we got it. We understand that side.
Right.
But the one side that I have to admit as a man that I've never talked about is the predator. And the predator that I'm speaking about is not the one that goes after children. It is the 35, 40-year-old man who's going after the 18, 19, and 20-year-old.
That's a good point, because I remember, I don't know if you are aware of her, but do you know the woman who went on Dr. Phil? I think she's white chick who she had that famous phrase, "Catch me outside."
No,
Okay.
I'm not aware of that.
That's fine, but that's fine. Essentially, it was just this young white girl who she went viral on Dr. Phil when she was like 15. But
Okay.
I promise this goes to your point. The second she turned 18, she started an OnlyFans. And I mean, the second she turned 18, she started an OnlyFans and made $1 million in a day.
Wow.
So like you said, there were grown men waiting. They were, like they were hiding in the bushes, just waiting for the moment for her to become legal. Because you're not going to tell me you just happened to be on the OnlyFans and that's the first time you ever came across her. There's no way for that to be possible for someone to get $1 million in one day.
Right.
You were waiting on this girl to turn of legal age so you could have, the legality argument behind you. So you're absolutely right in that. I myself, if I were 40, I would probably date younger women, since I'm not necessarily interested in kids and such, but there's no way I'm going to 18. That's just no way possible. I even though I'm 28, anytime I even meet a woman who's under the age of 22, I immediately think, when I was a senior, you were just going to middle school. I can't even, my mind can't even like wrap around anything past this is a child to me.
Let me ask you a question. Let's have that conversation. What I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna bring the men back up, because I want us men to have this conversation. Let's have it as a whole. You have one argument on the male side that says a man shouldn't date. When I was a Muslim, one of the biggest things in the Black Sunni Muslim sect, as well as the Nation of Islam, it says we shouldn't date no woman that is half our age plus 7. Okay. Then you have another sector of men. Let me give you me for me. I'm usually not going to date 5, 6, or 7 years younger than me. I refuse to date any woman that is within breathing distance of my oldest daughter, who will be 36 this year. I just couldn't see bringing home a 35-year-old woman to my oldest daughter. So I've set that preference. Now, to be open, when I did do this dating market, I got frustrated personally with trying to find women my age. Now I'm letting the chat know, I'm letting everybody know, I'm coming as a straight man. I got frustrated with trying to find women my age, and it was causing me, right, wrong, or indifferent, to go younger and younger, never down to the 30s, but I was really close to that age of saying, okay, I'm 52. I'll at least go down to 42. And that was beginning of, okay, I'm getting too young because that's still too close to my daughter's age as far as I was concerned.
Mhm.
But have we as men really had the conversation of what is the right dating age for a man and what is that dating age for a woman? And when I say that's because yes, I have daughters, and it's always been a woman wants an older man. I've heard women say, I want the older man. I've dated an older man. You say, well, how old? She's 25, and she tells me she's dated a 40-year-old. It's like, wait a minute, that was your dad's age. You know what I'm saying? But I've never really had that conversation about what really is the proper dating age. Because I think until we can try to get that conversation going, then I think we're losing it on the other side of that whole thing.
Do you want me to go first, or you want to go in a specific order?
I mean, I can answer that question because you guys can hear me.
Yes.
I mean, I'm in a similar situation. I've been in a similar situation as Uncle Stu. And one of the issues as you get older as a man is this. Okay, I'm 47. I just turned 47 today.
Right.
And all right, I've worked so many years. I've been successful in raising kids, raising a family. Even though I have all this free time and whatever else, and my kids are all grown. The question is also too, what are you willing to take on as a man? That I think forces some men to go a little bit younger in terms of like maybe the 35 age, but these are still grown women. And I think when women get over 21, they're pretty much a grown woman. There's still some with the young mindset and mentality. But what happens now is at the age that we're at, the question, you're taking on a lot of different things because everybody's been out here, they've been in relationships, they've been married, they've had all different types of situations. And so have we as men. We've had our share of marriages, divorces, and relationships. And the question is, and I know even when some of the Kevin Samuels show, is that our people are resistant to any type of therapy or help for certain issues that we have. Because you can't go through these relationships without having some type of relationship or emotional scars or baggage.
Right.
Sometimes people can deal with the issues, get treatment and help. But what you find a lot of times is that sometimes guys would rather sit on the sideline as opposed to when you understand what it takes to be in a situation or take on a situation. So I think that's which changes the scope. Maybe a guy like me may go, okay, I'll go from 30 to my age because I want to at least be able to deal with, if I'm getting into a relationship, it has to add value to my life. It can't just be me as a sacrificial animal to better the life of others. I want to be able to add value as well. So that's where the complication becomes in as you get older, because then you have to okay, I'll give myself a 17-year range because, you want to make sure you get yourself in a good situation in terms of relationship wise, and you're not taking on too many problems. Because I think a lot of the issues that we have, and that's one of the things that fell out of line with Boyce Watkins, is he was asking these young men who have worked hard their whole life, have made good decisions in life. Some of them don't have any kids, to take on a lot of the single moms. And my problem with that is you have to also establish standards, moral standards. The rules are simple. I watched Pastor Gino Jennings in Philly. Marry before you carry. Selection of men. Don't let material goods and swagger be the decisions in picking a man. Because at the end of the day, for a predator to prey, there's got to be a bait that catches what he wants. And a lot of these guys, like the sick guys like Glendon, they use financial resources. And we know that in our culture and what's being promoted through our popular culture, is about bling bling, is about material goods, and that is the trap. So I don't want to rob women of, I want to be able to focus on dealing with these predators like Glendon, but I don't want to rob women of their agency. But it becomes a lot more complicated as you get older and a man, because you want to be able to put yourself in situations that also add value to your life, and and make sure that you're doing the right thing.
I love that, and that's definitely going to be a topic for later on. I made a note of that. How does a woman add value to a man? That one, that's going to definitely be a future live thing. That, because I think when and the reason is, I'm gonna do a commercial break.
Right.
Women in my chat and any woman, that is the conversation they need to understand. When we don't say to a woman, well, what do you bring to the table? We don't have that kind of conversation. I've never dated a woman and said, well, what do you bring to the table? But I don't think a lot of women really understand when we're talking what we're really looking for, in the sense of we're looking for, how can you add to me? What value do you add to me? But that's going to be a topic for another time. But I like what you said. International Millionaire, what you got to add? Can you hear me? Make sure I ain't got you muted. Nope. How about Big Eye Journey? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I mean, to answer the question for me, I don't. Well, first I would say I totally agree with what's been said so far. I spoke last night on my Vivid Life's live, and I said that it was a time that I dated a 26-year-old, and I'm 41 right now. This was about 2 years ago, and she was 26, and I felt very uncomfortable. Not I won't say I just felt weird. Like, I don't know, like, man, this girl seemed just too young. And so I asked my sisters at church, I asked other people, and I would always get from women, because I always ask women, they would always say, oh no, that's perfectly fine. Women like to date older men, and we mature faster. This has been an argument. This has been the what I've heard ever since I've been young. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna just going to go for it. But in it, I still never felt less uncomfortable, and it was mainly because I felt like I couldn't relate to her a lot, and so when you look at it from that aspect, or even the aspect that you said about your daughters, if they're just the same age as your daughter, I mean, it will make you feel uncomfortable. But I will say this though, like, I won't put out a standard that says that you as a 50-year-old man can't date a 35-year-old, because I do believe that once a woman get over a certain age, you know what I'm saying, I'm not gonna like make that the standard. But when we talking about 18, 19, you know what I'm saying, even 20, I mean that's just ridiculous. I mean, because Tresh Can Wade said it in down in the chat. He said, if you can't buy liquor, I mean, you can't even take this girl out to a place with liquor. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Right.
that to me should be a very clear sign that this is not what I should be doing. But I feel like for us to put the standard of like that 35 to the 50, I think that's really gonna mess up our whole argument. But I think for each their own. I think that if that's what you're convicted by, then you should absolutely stand by that. But I'm definitely saying that I've seen it where men have waited to girls to get older, like he said about the Catch Me Outside girl. My sisters actually told me that men have actually told them, girl, I've been watching you since you was a kid, since you was a child. And like that to me is like, that is so disturbing. Like, and it makes me so mad, because even though they didn't act on their impulse, they waited till they got to legal age, and then they made their move. And that's what he's doing. He's standing behind the law. This is because the law in Atlanta says that you can be 16, then okay, I'm okay. But see, that's why I wanted you to do this live, because us as men need to set a certain standard. So I'm glad that you put this question out here right now as well, because we do got to start looking at that. Like, what is actually too young, morally, because we got to get to a point where we start to shun these dudes, because it's a lot of people that's sitting up there big up in Glenn. I went on one of his little his videos, and I seen all kind of dudes super chatting him saying, Antoine is, and like they were literally acting like, he destroyed Antoine. But I'm like, man, this is crazy. Some of these guys are living in a fantasy land. Like they don't even understand that they have no morals. And so I think that we need to start highlighting those people too, because you're not finna be around me big up in this dude. Like I'm not, you ain't, if you think like that, then I don't want nothing to do with you. And that's just how I feel. That's my stance.
Yeah. International Millionaire, you want to say anything? I don't know if you can hear me.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Okay, let me say this. Ladies, I like to hear a little bit from you. And this is my question to women, because like I said, we as men, we got to hold ourselves accountable for a lot of things. And I don't mind being held accountable. I spoke about accountability. Um, I don't mind stepping up and pushing my brothers to be accountable. But there's some gray areas that I've never really heard these conversations. So I would like to hear from women about this age conversation, because reality says a lot of women that's getting 18, 21, 22. I'm a man. I've heard women say they date these guys that's 10, 15, 20 years older. What are y'all thinking? What I love to hear what y'all thinking. I maybe we as men, we need to understand what's going on. So if y'all want to come up, I'll drop the link in the chat. I think we as men also need to hear that conversation from a woman's point of view. Let me see. Do I got you up here? Community Solutions. There you go.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute.
Hello
One
to the
sec.
panelists.
To I don't know how in the world I'm bad in English here. Reigning Women Band. I think I got it right. Thank you. And thank you for coming to hear this live. This is my first live, so I really appreciate you. Thank you for coming. And YouTube Streets. Brand new. Appreciate you. Appreciate you coming to this live. Okay. Thank you, Community Solutions. Go ahead.
I really don't, and I think we touched on this last night, but I really don't have a problem with men going for younger women of age, of legal age. The thing that I would like to see more is men being accountable for those children, because I believe biologically you are attracted to younger women for reproduction reasons, for because they can still reproduce. The vicious cycle we seeing in our community is, okay, we got the woman, oh, she pregnant, and then all of a sudden she by herself. So then the other responsible people in the community have to pick up the pieces and hold it up. So that's all well and good if you want that young woman, but it's almost like those old African customs of dowries and stuff, like that's your wife. My best friend is Nigerian, and her grandfather had, I think, 3 wives and 22 children. They all stayed under the same roof. So I don't know. I don't per se have a problem with men wanting younger women as long as they legal. But are you going to take her under your umbrella, or are you just playing?
Let me ask you a question. And this is not me pushing back on you. I'm going to give you one of the arguments, and I just want to hear your response to one of the so-called let me not say it because that's a very disingenuous statement. One of the arguments that I do hear in the manosphere, one of the arguments says women have access to sex, men have access to marriage. In other words, for their translation, women are responsible for the reason for pregnancy, while men are responsible for marriage. How would you respond to that?
I would say that's true, and it just really reiterated what I said. You can go with the younger woman, but are you taking her under your umbrella or are you just sampling her? Because understand, that young woman's fertile. Birth control is not 100%. What are you doing? Are you being honest with her? Are you telling her, listen, I want to be free. This is not leading to marriage or anything like that. And then it's on the onus is on her on whether she wants to go on with it or not, because we're not in a structured uh, uh, culture where you're marrying virgins. You're giving up a dowry. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You're married when you hit that, that's yours. Those children are your property. They taking your last name. You are responsible. You ain't got to worry about predators because you standing at the gate waiting on the predators with the shotgun. So what I'll say to that is, yes, they hold the key to sex, but men hold the key to marriage. But the problem in the community, this is a circular problem. You're chasing after the young women, they're becoming pregnant, and then you're leaving. And I'm not saying you or anybody on the panel, I'm just saying the responsible people in the community have to hold these people up, because we have to try to hold down our household and look after these kids that are being preyed upon. They don't there's no protection in that household. This woman is financially in dire straits. Is she getting desperate? And people can play on that. So I don't know. I don't know if I answered your question, but that's pretty much how I feel about it.
Hey, Steve, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
What age is this? Like, what's the age range of this hypothetical woman that we're talking about in this question? Like, are we talking about a woman who's right at 17, 18, or are we talking about a woman who's like 22, 23, or
Which question?
the one about well, maybe it wasn't the question, but more so the statement of, as you said, the gentleman preying on the younger women, or wanting younger women for procreation and such. I'm asking, is this hypothetical woman close to 17 or like close to 22, 23?
No, the woman I'm talking about, because see, he made a statement, and I know these type of men exist.
Mm-hmm.
They ain't gonna touch the child. But as soon as she turns 18,
Okay.
it's like game on. And the angle I'm coming at is because that's another thing that he kept emphasizing yesterday.
Right. The legal
I'm
side.
54, and he's talking about, oh, well, when I was 34, I was going after the 17, 18-year-old, and I'm going, wait a minute. I'm 54. What are you talking about? And then another issue kept coming. He kept saying, I change. And I'm sitting up here saying, okay, when did this change come? And what was this experiment you trying to do? So it didn't make sense. Now I can sit up here and say as a man, yeah, I did these stupid things when I was 20. And then I had to mature up at 30.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got a little bit more mature at 40. And I can show you the change because I'm not doing the same thing I did in my 20s. I didn't hear none of that. I heard no accountability, no nothing. It was like, you and I would not run around just to get click, likes, and views talking about being a predator.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to do a click, like, and view because I want beef with Ingram Experience because he got, this big YouTuber, and it's like I want to be recognized, so I'm gonna get in a beef with him. You know what I'm saying? Like, we understand that came, but you've been a YouTuber over 12 years. What game do you need to learn when you got that much experience? At
Right,
least
right.
you would think so. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm just having more of the general, and then I'm not gonna lie, I will bring in some of the manosphere arguments just to have the conversation. So when I was asking community solutions, and she had made the statement about men not taking on the responsibility of these children, there are some in the manosphere that would say she chose to have the children, so why is it the man's responsibility? And I'm not sitting here to argue sides. I'm sitting here saying, okay, I'm just going to have the open conversation. I'm going to take some of the manosphere arguments and see how are women responding and what are they thinking.
Are
You
we
know what I'm
talking
saying?
about the biological dad, or are we talking about men who are not the biological dad taking on the responsibility in regards to the woman choosing to have the children?
I believe the argument, and I'll definitely dig into it more. Ingram, if you can help me out with this, I believe
Well,
their argument is,
uh,
let's say they, oh, excuse me, Lord, I'm doing that live.
it's some
The
rain in New
argument
Orleans.
is, or one of their arguments is, if a woman chooses to have a child, especially out of wedlock, then the responsibility of that child should basically be on her.
Okay, now
You
is that
know,
with the man who made the child with her, or are we talking about putting the response? Are we? Is the argument against this woman depending on a man who's not the child's father, or are we saying that the man who made the children is not responsible?
the man who made the children is not responsible. I'm not taking a position. I'm just giving the argument. You
That's a big
understand
part
what
of
I'm
the
saying? Like,
problem.
I'm not necessarily saying I agree or disagree. I'm just bringing the argument to the forefront.
Yeah, see, that's a big part of the problem, and that's
Right.
why even as an auntie, I get called for just about everything, to carry the load of men who believe that, well, I made this baby, she was young, sexy, and fine, but ain't nobody tell her not to get on birth control. Where I'm like, well, why you dropping babies, and you not see that's really the heart of the matter. The heart of the
Hmm.
matter is that we got men dropping babies like they don't know how babies are made, and then the rest of us have to carry the load. That's the problem. That's the
I
problem.
absolutely disagree. I think it takes two to tangle. And I think the issue within our community is an issue of moral decay. And the issue is also accountability. When you see men, like I go back to Geno Jenkins, when he holds women accountable in the church. See, the church started with deteriorating when they got into this prosperity gospel. I don't want to get too much deep into that. The problem with our community is an issue of standards and accountability. I always say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Okay. And the problem is this. Okay. I'll give you an example. I've had, you have situations. I mean, I can remember in high school, I was just, a good student, successful athlete or whatever. Maybe I'm wearing the Jordache jeans instead of the Levi's or the whatever other jeans. And a lot of decisions that were made for men have to do more with swagger as opposed to substance in our community. And I've had situations where I'm dating a girl and she broke up with me to get with a drug dealer. I've had those situations because he has money. Here you are, a broke high school kid or whatever. And what happened is the guys that are like me are the guys who become the engineers, the doctors, the lawyers later on in life because we stay the path and we work hard and we put in our effort. I'm retired at 47. It took a lot of work. It took a lot of saving. It took a lot of investment to get to where I'm at. Okay. So when I look at women, I look at in terms of how this woman's going to, I want to bring value to her life. And I also want her to add value to my life. And the problem that we have is that we say these guys that are making these babies and whatever else, well, those guys were bums back when I was in high school. and these are the guys you're procreating with, I don't think it's reasonable. It's reasonable to ask guys that have stayed the path, that have been disciplined, that have worked hard, that have invested, that have saved their money, um, 15, 20 years later. And when we talked about that with Uncle Stu, guys take on a lot of responsibility. There's a responsibility community,
Right.
but what happens
Hold
is,
on, Ingram. Hold on, Ingram. The angle I was going was not a man who doesn't have, is not a man taking on the responsibility of another man's child.
right,
One of the theoretical arguments in certain spaces of the manosphere was a man who would say women have access to sex, men have access to marriage, meaning
right,
if that woman, if me and hypothetical, if me and Community Solutions laid down
right,
and she came up pregnant, technically the burden of her carrying that child, wanting to have that child and take care of that child should be on her. I should be relieved of any financial social obligations. I'm just giving her a generic but a realistic argument. And
But
I'm
see,
not taking a
that's a
side.
part of
I'm
the
just
I,
problem.
listening to her position on that argument.
Yeah,
I
that's
absolutely
part of the
disagree.
problem.
If you make a child, it's your responsibility to take care of that child. But the question is, we get back to the moral question, and we get that back to the breakdown in the family. Again, if you're watching nature, the hyenas behave a whole lot different when that male lion is present. And again, we're dealing with what comes first, the chicken or the egg. And what I'm saying to you is that we got to deal with the issue of morality and moral decay. Because let's be honest, and we've all been through the community, and what's not being, the elephant in the room is this: that man is not present, number one. And two, it's obvious that from this guy, I don't want to use Pookie and Ray Ray because it's so cliche. This guy is going to
Right.
be in jail in about another week when you get busted carrying that heroin or that coke that you're dating. But he's buying you expensive bags, expensive purses. He's got a car. He's got all these things from ill-gotten gains. And this guy's a bum, but he wears the latest clothes. He's flashy. He's all. And what happens is, the problem what I have is that we can hold, all of us are going to hold Glendon accountable. He's a scumbag and a predator. We're going to stomp him out. The problem I have is that we can hold men accountable, but there has to be rules. So when you want people to make sacrifices, like for instance, Uncle Stu, we talk about selection and choices as we get into a certain age. I live a very comfortable life. Okay. For me to add a woman to my life, I've got to say that a woman's got to make what I have now better because I added her to my life. The problem that we have in our community, standards, accountability, marry before you carry should be the rule. You shouldn't be dating bums. Bums shouldn't even be dating women. If you're a broke bum, get a job and do something with your life. You shouldn't be out here messing with these. And then the primary issue is more men. The focus needs to be put on men and boys. And that's the way you build a community to deal with predators like Glenn.
Got you. Just to let everybody know on the platform and in the chat, especially to my women, there is, and I'll probably put it up today so that y'all can go and hear it for yourselves. Obsidian Media Network did an awesome take and an awesome argument on his network. For those that don't know, Obsidian is the founder of the Black Male Manosphere. Osage Jackson, if you want to say, is really the voice and sort of like the president of the Manosphere. And believe it or not, Kevin Yale Samuels is really a part of the Manosphere He just happens to be one of the largest YouTubers within the manosphere. It was Osage Jackson that brought Kevin Samuels into the manosphere, and it was Obsidian, who again is the founder. And he did an awesome video, and I'll make sure I put that up either in the description or in the somewhere you're going to hear about it. And I like, especially my sisters to kind of hear it. I think the title of the stream was what is the average at best going to do? And he was talking both to men and women. And I agree with a lot of the points that he was making, and he did hit the men. He did hit the men, and some of the men is crying back for what he had to say. But I'd rather y'all hear it and come up with your own views and opinions. Black belt or let's go to intentional millionaire. What you got to say?
Well, the first thing is I want to first apologize to JP and Miss B Finesse. I'm sorry, Miss B Finesse, and because I got their names wrong when I spoke last time. I was in the gym and it was so much stuff going on, but I think the Ingram experience, I just think he just covered it. I think one, if a man is gonna go out here and lay down with a woman, I don't care what sphere he in, he need to take care of the child. Because when you lay down, it's a responsibility of both man and woman. Right. I don't care if the woman still has the final say so over who has the child or not. If she decides to have the child or not, I think the men need to be more careful on who they decide to go lay down with. Okay. Mm-hmm. Because if they go lay down with just anybody and then a child is born, then they got to be responsible for the child. It's just it. It's not a matter of, well, because the woman still had to say so, then it's the woman's fault. No, you should have strapped up. You should have not had sex, or you should have decided and looked at some of their, their morals and values before you even decide to lay down with them. So I think when we look at it as a community, going back to just the fact of the predatorial side of things, I think that's why, for me as a man, I think it's just important for men to get their resources in order, because what I found is the more you get your resources in order and you get your confidence and your character up, you are very selective, because all the hard work get lost for you being reckless. Right. So I think that's part of it, but also too, I think that as men do that, because I think the gentleman in the middle with the nice beard, he stated was it still ultimately falls back on the men. Okay. Ultimately it falls back on the men, and I think as men we got to kind of fix that portion, because the reason why a lot of women go out and do these things is because of lack of resources, because they decide that have a child or have sex with a Pookie or Ray Ray, or they decide to have it with a guy that had resources, but what they did not do is they didn't have somebody that was another man vet those guys. Right. So I think it's just a matter, at the end of the day, I think it's just a matter of both men and women need to come together to kind of fix all of this. And this one-sidedness, I think, is the problem. I just think it's a problem to say it's men in an age and all that stuff, and then say it's women because they have, final say so over the child. I think everybody has a responsibility. And the phrase I'm always state is, everybody has accountability. Husband, wife, man, woman, kids, and the dog. That's it.
You and I. Hey, can I touch on that? Sure. Man, my brothers, these two that just went before me, are so on point, and I think it boils down to the morality piece. Ingram's experience said that men are going to be held accountable regardless, and I think I've always held men accountable, and so when I hear this argument about it's her responsibility, I mean I'm totally against that. I always have been. I am a man who's never been. My dad has never been in my life. You know, my mother has had to carry the weight this whole time. But and even in that, though, I still realize that my mother plays a part in that. And she plays a huge part in that. Right now, in my city, I live in a small city, and I'm telling you, like I could point to a few men that has probably 5 different baby mamas, and all of these children are related. They all brothers and sisters. I was just down at a festival, and brothers and sisters were meeting each other for the first time. And so then I have friends all up in their 30s to 40 that don't have any children. Great men. One of my homeboys, he makes a 6-figure. He drives good. He works good. And he's a good looking dude. But he's not that dude that be out there in the street just getting everything pregnant. You know what I'm saying? And so we just like Intentional Millionaire said, that everybody has to be accountable. But this is the other thing, because every time it always seems like it goes on us as men. But see, they say that it's not a lot of good men out here. But then we have all of us right here on this same panel, and we all think alike. We didn't grow up together. You know what I'm saying? We're not from the same place, but so we were still able. I mean, we're still able to come together right now, and we're similar men. We believe in the same things, and so I can't imagine that there's not a lot of other guys. I'm sorry, come on, y'all making too much noise. I can't think that there's not a whole lot of other guys like us out here. They're just not looking for those guys. They're picking the wrong guy. And then this is the last thing I want to say. The morality piece is so important, because I see Anton Daniels get on there and he talk about his views, and he's shunned by so many people, both men and women. They feel like what he said is not realistic. If I had to do it all over again, I would do it just like him, because that to me produced a result that I like. He has a wife. He's been with his wife all of this time. They have a great life. And they're standing for something. Every time somebody says something, like the views that we're talking about on this show right here, the masses would shun us. If we're talking about, the legal age is 18, but us as men, we feel like that's too young. The majority of people not thinking like that, men or women. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm trying to say is that the morality piece is probably the biggest piece. People pick the law of the land versus the morale, you know what I mean? And so like that's what I'm looking at this whole thing. We need to get it together from a moral standpoint, as a community.
Can I ask the group a question, if that's all right?
Hold on one
Before
second.
you go, can I address Snuggles?
Yeah, that's what.
Hey, B. Snuggles is a terrorist, just so you know.
Right. So
yeah, I do, but I'm going to
Stu, I think your panel's going to
international kind of go ahead and defend himself. And
so
before you do that, Kelly, I
know
just now saw. Thank you for the $10 cash app. Thank you, Miss Kareem, thank you for coming in. Appreciate you. And Inca, boy, y'all guys, I feel like TLA right now. I can't read, but I appreciate you. Can anybody tell me how you spell that? Reigns? Inya Reigns? I don't know how to pronounce this, so forgive me. But thank you for coming by. Go ahead, International. I'm gonna give you your chance to respond. There's two comments that Snuggles made. And yeah, Black Belt, I'm aware of Snuggles. I got you.
So the fact that Snuggles say I'm not aware and I shouldn't be speaking, it's not about being aware and being speaking. It's about when you see a problem, you talk about a solution first thing, because history just is a predicator on what happened, but that does not mean is a directive of what can be in the future. So let's make sure we understand that. But what I'm talking about is, because it's bigger than the individuals. The problem we have is we getting young boys born without a male figure, and because it's young men born without the male figure, that's why we have so much disconnect that we currently have right now. So it's more or less not really about that particular thing. It's about a bigger outcome, a bigger result. And that is black men coming into the world, they raised by women, and then women are complaining about there's no good black men. And the reason being is because they raised by women. So I'm talking more about, let's look at it from the root level and not necessarily getting caught up on because, men been patronized and, we've been emasculated for 50 plus years or whatever the case may be. That's irrelevant as a man when you going out as a man and as an individual and you're doing what you're supposed to do. And then you add to the community by pulling another man up. So the 50-year stuff for me does not matter. Okay. So I don't know what, I don't know what he or she is really trying to say. I don't know if Snug is a man or a woman. I don't know. But with that being said, it's easy to say that, but you got to look bigger than, because it was a war on men for a long time, but we got to look beyond that, because how do we fix it? We still fix it by raising up more good men. Because my belief is this: women because women are more emotional based, they can always put most things on a man. And if they're not taught that, they have to take some level of accountability. We as men just need to get to the best version of ourselves so we can at least take away whatever excuse they may have. And then from there, it's just because they just don't want to.
That is very true. Snuggles, I'm going to say this. We can show all the stats. We can go down on the numbers. But I've really established this platform to really have solutions, because I could sit here for the next 35 years blaming women, and that ain't going nowhere. Women for the last 35 years been blaming men, and that's not going anywhere. So in reality, this particular podcast and platform is for the development of men and encouraging men to be the best version of themselves, while again explaining to women how to understand the man they want to be with and the man they want to love. Because I've heard all the complaints. I know the stats. I got it. But what are we going to do about it? We can't just keep running around pointing fingers at each other. We got to stand up. We got to, first of all, talk about it, and then we got to be about it. And so that's how that go. Tiana, do you want to cam up or do you want to come up? Because I do believe that your voice is very important, but you let me know.
I can drop off to make room for somebody.
I'm going to see if she wants to cam up. Okay. Go ahead. Anybody else? Got
yeah,
something?
Sensei had a question.
Yeah, I had that question, Uncle Stu. So I've been wondering, just as a younger guy, not to go too deep into the statistics, but like I said, it's been debunked that all black men aren't out here just creating babies out of wedlock. It's only about 20 to 25%. But my question is, for the successful older gentlemen on the panel right now, what do you think they should do, or what do you think people, if I'm including me at 28, who has worked with kids, because I've taught martial arts to younger kids, what do you think it is that we could or should do for those kids who, like, they have no keyword, they may have a male figure, but they don't have an actual man to help guide them through life, who may be in a single parent household? Because I know for myself and where I'm from, I'm not going back necessarily to the neighborhood I grew up in to try to go search and find like a seek and rescue mission, because I'm just not going to put myself at risk trying to save someone else. So how exactly do we reach out to those individuals, and how do we actually get the ones who want to, I guess, and really get better and improve? Hopefully that made sense.
Well, here's the thing about it. If Uncle Stu allow me to answer this question, okay, you're 28 years old right now, and obviously you're a professional. Again, we could go back to that moral issue that needs to be fixed first, because what you're getting at this particular point in our community is the side effects of poor moral standards and unchecked things in our society with our culture that needs to be fixed, you know. And the problem with that is to stop the bleeding, to stop what's going, you got to first deal with the wound. And I know Uncle Stu knows from the military, that's why they have gauze pads. You apply pressure to the wound to stop it, because that's what happens. And the problem that I see, okay, in the culture itself has to do with the issue of us not having this standard. And then again, an ounce of prevention goes a long way. And where you're coming in as a young man, like you want to give back and you want to help the community, but there's also risk mitigation involved because we are in a different society where you put yourself tremendously at risk. And a lot of times the young people, like I coached, okay, I coach basketball and I do things like that. And what I found myself is I would go into like okay, let's say it costs $500 or whatever, or $100 for kids to be on a team. It may cost me like $6,000 because what I'm doing is helping the single moms out, helping kids with school, helping kids with all these other things. And I found myself being put in a position where I'm pushing kids into. It became an issue of burnout, and many times an issue of abuse. So it's a balancing act that you have to have, but also you have to have preservation for your own life. Because here's the problem is society can't keep asking guys like you and me to step in and correct a moral problem, an issue of moral decay, without dealing first with the virus. And one of the viruses in our culture, we value things like we look up to people like rappers. How many women have listened to Cardi B or Meg Thee Stallion, all of these dysfunctional people going on, and they listen to these people that are talking about money and getting all these different things. So it's a cultural problem. And we go back to guys. All right, Kevin Samuels talk about 54% of Black men are single with no kids. And the issue becomes this. Those guys, they don't, if you ask a woman what she wants in a man, a lot of women, and I'm not gonna blame women for anything. He's got to be 6'4". He's got to be this much, make this much money, has this, and this. There's a lot of good brothers out here that work good jobs and make whatever. He has to make $150,000. A lot of times, a lot of people will just, a lot of guys like that, women will just walk by them and they'll pick that guy with his pants halfway down his ankle or whatever else. So there's decisions on the man's part and the women's part, but I'm getting a little bit off topic, but I'm saying there's a whole host of issues that we got to deal with because you can't keep asking guys like you who have worked hard, who've done the right thing, without somebody saying that this is a standard. And we need to drive our people, regardless of whether it hurts our feelings, to live to these moral standards. Because you can't keep asking you, because you want to have your own family, you want to have a wife, and you want to have kids and whatever else. And you can't keep giving up your life. And the last thing before I move on, Uncle Stu, is we have to have this focus on men and boys. And my thing is, you need paid mentors, not just guys like you. Put these guys on salary. I don't care if you pay them $100,000 a year. Let them take 2 or 3 of these boys and mentor them. And that's where you eliminate the weirdos. Make them go through intensive background checks. Make them have the vetting process. But we can't depend on society. And we'll be destroying society if we take the best men among us and always take these guys and bring them back to the community to fix problems when we haven't fixed the moral problem, the issue of moral decay.
Okay. What
So,
I'm going
Mr.
to
Ingram,
do,
you and I
hold
had
on, before we move on.
Okay.
Community Solutions, I purposely do not want you to move, okay?
Okay.
Big Guy Journey, I'm going to drop you down. I'm going to bring up a fresh voice, and I'm going to let this fresh voice speak. And after this fresh voice speak, I think I'm going to have something for the chat to be a little bit excited about. So let me drop you, Big Guy. Tiana, I need you to come onto the chat and I'll explain to you what the whole conversation is about. Because I have a different question for you that I would like you as a young woman to address. So I dropped the StreamYard. If you don't mind, can you come on to the chat? While I'm seeing if she's going to cam up or even come up. Anybody else got something? Because we're gonna.
Well, I was going to tell Ingram. He said that we disagree, but actually we said the exact same thing. I was saying
No,
Okay,
Ingram
I didn't say we
addressing.
disagree.
No, he was addressing something that was in the chat.
No. I'm talking about earlier. What he
Oh,
just
okay.
said is what I was saying earlier, is that the good people in the community are carrying the load for people who are being irresponsible, and that's men and women. But that's all. I just wanted to let him know that we're actually on the same page with that, and also
Oh yeah,
intentional millionaire.
I totally agree with you. We can't keep asking these young brothers like the one next to me. We need them to be discovering science. We need them to be the next Elon Musk and science and engineering and things that are going to help to build a community. We don't want him always taking care of Pookie and Ray Ray's kids. You'll destroy the
Right.
community. You'll
And the
destroy the
women
community
too.
if you don't take the best and the brightest of the young men and make them leaders in the community so they can set the example. I don't want the young men that have worked hard like he has always going back and let we want to stop the bleeding from its source, which is
Right.
raise the standard, demand that people make better choices.
Okay. What I'm going to do, I know I got you in here, pharmacist, and I appreciate you. Don't you move.
Uncle
Thank
Stu,
you,
can I go ahead
Tiana.
and
Hold
Uncle
up.
Stu, I was just gonna tell you I was getting ready to head out, but appreciate
Okay.
everyone. I appreciate the panel. And I'll see
I
you
just
on the next
subscribed to
video.
you,
We'll be getting
intentional
together, Uncle
millionaire.
Stu.
I just subscribed to you, intentional millionaire.
All right, thank you. All right, everyone, have a good one. Thanks again.
Take care, intentional millionaire.
All right.
Hey, take care, buddy.
All right. Bye.
Okay. Thanks, Tiana, for coming on the platform. I really appreciate you. And I know you said you got here late. There's an issue that I would like you to address, and something that has come up on TLA's platform, but I want you to address it a different kind of way. There seems to be an issue when it comes to women healing, vetting, women that don't have fathers in their lives or their father's been inactive. And I know for you, you had a father that was kind of inactive, So how did you in your life, how do you deal with that?
Can everybody hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. It takes you wanting to be healed for yourself first. You have to first you have to know that there's a problem. You have to know your issues. You have to know who you are. Once you know who you are, know the issues that you're dealing with within yourself, then you can begin a healing process and figure out, well, what is making me get to the point of you're making these different types of decisions that may be detrimental in your life or anyone else's for that matter. So once you do those things, and you can begin to heal whatever you're going through. Do you want a more in-depth or I don't, but
Go ahead. Because I have women in the chat, and we've basically been talking about predatorial behavior. We've been talking about women who had the absentee father and men preying on them and trying to find solutions. And I know that you have that experience in the sense of, that on and off father, the one that was around, difficulties, etc. So I want you to speak to that. I know you had that background.
I will say that it is very hard when you have that type of background. It can lead you. I'm not going to put every woman in a category, but it can lead you to make decisions in your life to put you in situations that may be detrimental. Um, you could go down different avenues. For example, when it comes to dating men, you can allow men to treat you any kind of way because you start to believe that behavior is acceptable, and all you're searching for is love, and that's a void that you have had because you don't feel that from your father. And so it'll lead you down the road of making decisions in that area as well as other areas in your life. And until you deal with that particular hurt that that is causing you to make those decisions, your life will be a 360 and not a 180. So you will keep going through the same cycle, the same process, the same hurt over and over and over again until you decide within yourself, I want to figure out what's wrong. I want to deal with that hurt and I want to heal, because once you heal, you can be free and have peace in your life, male or female.
Beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, that's in the chat and everybody up on the stream. I told you that Uncle Stu was going to be real 24/7. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to my oldest daughter, Tiana, and she is the one that just spoke. So just she can probably read the chat. So just give us some love. I told you I was going to be 100, and I am 100. So for a quick commercial break, I ain't gonna always say I was the best man. Y'all heard me say that. But my daughter and I is healed, and my daughter is part of the backing of this live stream. She's the backing of YouTube. She is my commentator for YouTube. And as you can see, we both went through a whole lot of pain, but we went through a whole lot of healing. So we not just talking the talk, we had to walk it. We had to walk it. So please welcome her. I don't have one of them soundboards where I can sit there and hit a button for all the claps.
I
But
was gonna
just,
tell
just
you
to
to
let y'all
do
know.
the clapping sound.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
But we're gonna keep it real. She's talking real. She come from the background. She's real. So when you hear me talk about my marriage, when you hear me talk about anything, trust and believe. She's hearing it all. And she can speak to a whole lot of issues, whole lot of situations, whole lot of problems. That's just coming from the woman's side. And just to let y'all know, she does not like Kevin Samuels. Her dad loves Kevin Samuels. So this lets you know that we even got a disagreement when it comes to things going on the YouTube streets, But my favorite pharmacist, I want to thank you for coming on.
Sure. Thank you for having me. It's your first live, right?
Absolutely.
This is your first live, correct?
Yes, it's my first live, and
Okay. I was looking
it,
forward to you.
yeah, but the topic wasn't supposed to be my first original topic, but it
Mm.
ended up being that way. Big Guy was the one that came and kind of wanted me to speak on this particular issue. And when I saw my daughter in the live stream, I kind of wanted to go backwards and talk on a subject that we spoke about a couple of hours ago. So I wanted her to kind of speak to that situation, as well as, like I said, I want everybody to know that Uncle Stu is real. You know, he's been through some real things and been through some real heartaches and you know, my daughter been through some real things and some real heartaches, and we're healing. So trust and believe.
Right.
If you had a problem, me and my daughter, we've been there, done that, and we can definitely teach about it.
Right. And hello to the panel. How are y'all today?
Hey, how you doing?
Hello, how are you?
Hey.
All righty. Hello. And so what was the question now?
We basically been I think going towards the latter part of this. We've been talking about the issue. Did you see what happened on you spoke on TLA yesterday, didn't you?
Yes, sir. I have. Uh-huh.
And we as men are addressing that issue. And basically I think all the men will be in agreement. We're addressing that issue and we're basically rejecting that kind of behavior. And we're acknowledging that in men's spaces, we talk about the Pookie and the Ray Rays, but we rarely talk about the predator. And today we're going to talk about the predator that's going after young women. We ain't going to talk about the children, going after young women and dealing with those low self-esteem women, those women that have 2 and 3 babies in bad financial shape, and you know, preying on those women just for sexual favors or sexual gains, which is causing more damage on that side of the platform, on that side of life. And we as men is stepping up and saying, no, we're not going to accept those behaviors.
Okay, I love that because a lot of the YouTubers, they are trying to straddle the fence on it. So I love that there are a collective of men who are in there making that hard line that this is a no. Now, when we're talking about age and young women, like what is y'all cutoff y'all talking about? Like, is it a legal issue, the legality, or is it morality? Like, what's the age we're talking about?
If I can just,
yeah, go ahead, Black Belt. You was gonna say?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think if I may speak for all the gentlemen here, I think what we're trying to do is move away from being able to hide behind a legal argument, and we're trying to say like the gentleman to my right. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. He mentioned
Ingram
how.
Experience.
Excuse me.
Ingram Experience.
Yeah, gentleman Ingram Experience. How he just mentioned how there's a moral decay to where, yes, obviously you can in Georgia you can have sex with someone who's 16. Legally, that's not an issue, but we're not letting that slide as an excuse.
Gotcha. Okay.
Just because you can legally do something doesn't mean you should be doing it. And
exactly,
we didn't come up with a specific number, so I'll just say for myself, if I were say, I'm 28, but if I were say 40, I'm not dealing with anyone under the age of 28. So just if I had to give my number, even though I'm not 40, so that would be my cutoff. As after I hit say 35, well, even I say even after 33, I'm not dealing with no one younger than 28.
Right. Yeah, because
we pull out adult, and there's no question she's an adult. That's not even a debate.
Right, and that would give opportunity too for, especially with young women, just young people in general. You need time to mature and become somewhat wise. And if you're a young woman or even a young man, you don't have the mental aptitude to have life experiences to process. The processing of ideas in life is totally different when the maturity is at stake. So, but yeah, I love that. I love how y'all not hiding behind a legal, that legal number versus the morality part of it. So I love that. Y'all make it a hard line, and that's awesome. So I appreciate that so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. I think it needed to be addressed. I want this platform mostly to be, especially when I go live. I want this platform mostly to be about empowering men and at the same time getting women to understand the men they love. But my caveat is always going to be about healing, always about healing. If you ever look at anything I drop, there are times where you'll hear me say, my daughter and I had this conversation and she may have said this, or, conversations just in general. My attitude is I don't want to be what they call a reactionary YouTuber, meaning looking at some video you did and then I'm putting up your video and I'm just, reacting to the video. I'd rather be the individual that either I'm forward thinking and give you my perspective on something, or I'm seeing a problem and instead of just, throwing up statistics and all this other stuff to the problem, what can we do to solve the problem? What is the conversation that has to be had? And then what can we do after the conversation? I don't want to just talk about it. I want to be about the work. So when you see me up on different guys' platform, that's not me just trying to get my name out there. That's me pushing, young men, whether I'm up in Black Belt's platform or I'm up in Before the Billions. I may not understand the subject they're talking about, but I need them to keep pushing, keep fighting, and keep moving on, because women is always saying we're all the good men. Well, I'm trying to bring the good men to the platform. Then you have other women that are saying, hey, when are men going to hold other men accountable? I got the platform. So I'm trying to dispel the myth. I'm trying to take the conversation that's in the manosphere, bring it out to the public, have that conversation with a little bit of older, mature men and say, let's talk about it.
And if you don't mind, Uncle Stu, could I just answer one question someone had in the chat?
Sure. I wasn't even paying attention to the chat. Absolutely.
Okay. Kareem asked a question. I don't know if you just wanted to put it up so everyone could see it.
You said Kareem?
Yeah, at 109. Yeah.
Okay.
At least from my opinion, to answer that question, I don't know exactly how much younger 27 this person would be, but I'll just say going just directly under at 26. Me as a tax attorney at 26, you can definitely be a full-fledged adult. You can graduate law school by the age of 26. You could definitely have your master's in engineering and almost midway through your PhD program at 26. So at 20,
Right.
Now would I date it personally? No. But the 26 can definitely still be a full-fledged adult. So for myself, I can't say that's predatory behavior. That's more on a case-by-case situation. But that's just black belt.
That's not predatory behavior. I'd say over 21 and above. And I think it becomes an issue of this, okay? And I want to get into it. Like, for instance, you're 28 years old. And let's say, for instance, we're talking about dating and relationships. Let's say you're picking a wife.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what happens, do you have any kids, first of all?
No
kids. Okay. So you're brand. I have 3 boys already. So you're about to pick a wife. Okay.
Okay.
And one of the reasons why, like Uncle Stu said, that women need to have these dialogues with men, and why I think women should not sleep around and not be promiscuous or not do any of these things, because we don't want women to have these imprints on them from bad relationships, because relationships can leave scars. Because when you have sex with somebody, you're not just giving them your body, you're giving them your soul, and you're inviting into that your life all of the negative energy that comes with that person and how the relationship works. So here you are, a young man, successful attorney, lawyer, okay? And you had to pick a woman, okay? And if you're picking the best woman for you, and this is very discretionary because there are women that have different issues, body count and things of that nature that leave scars, you want to pick yourself the best person that adds value to your life, okay? So if you're saying, okay, well, a lot of times the longer you're out here on the dating market, and the longer you're out here, the probability of running up scars or whatever else. That's why I'm a big proponent of marriages and people being in relationships and monogamy. But obviously, you're not going to want to be with somebody that has 100 bodies on them. or somebody that has a lot of baggage. And that's for women and men. It's not just men, women too. They want to be with a guy that, you know. So if you tamper with, like, would you marry a woman that's 24 years old? You know, not that saying that people, you know, a certain age, because people can sleep around any age, but you want to give yourself the best possibility to find the best quality mate you want without, you know, obviously if you set a range from 22 to 28, your age, you're going to have a better chance of finding a good quality mate than if you say, like for me, if I'm 47, if I set a range from 30 to 47, I'm going to have a better possibility of finding a good quality mate, you know, because we're dealing in different categories. Because one part is these guys that are sickos targeting young women and whatever, like Glenn. And then there's the guys that are like you, that are professionals. You want to have yourself the best opportunity to find the best quality mate that adds value to your life. And if I was advised, you were my kid, I'd say go from 22 to 28. And I would say body count is prevalent. If you could find a virgin that hasn't been imprinted upon, that has good character, good morals, and good virtues, I'd go for that woman. Because you don't want the scars that comes from the consequences of negative relationships. So there's an issue of guys being perverted and jacked up, and then there's an issue of guys putting themselves in the best situation and getting the best quality mate that they can get.
May I ask a question?
Hold on. Let me also address that. Kareem, I thank you for not putting that YouTuber in the chat, because it would have definitely turned this conversation on its head. Because I do know the YouTuber that you're referring to. I get it. But I hope that in this whole conversation, because I'm not going to put that YouTuber down for the choices they make, but I will say this. If you got anything out the conversation, a lot of men do different things. And, you know, that's why we're having the conversation, so that women can hear what each man's thoughts, views, and opinions. I said very clearly, I'm older than that YouTuber. And for me, I will not date a woman that is 2 years older than my oldest daughter. And I made that very clear, because I am not going to bring and say, hey, come look at my new woman, and my daughter looking at her and she's younger than my oldest daughter. That's me. That's the morality I set. But I can't push that morality on another man. You know, each man has his own moral. The big question is there a number, and how we're going to talk about it? How do we get beyond the legal and go to the moral? And moral is not always addressed from a biblical standpoint or a religious standpoint, but just a societal, how we're going to handle that. I agree with the gentleman on the panel. Once you're above 26 years old, you 27, you're kind of, a full-grown adult. By 27, you can almost be as close as having your PhD at 27. So I'll be the last to say that 27-year-old is a child. Now, turning 18, turning 21, you're still in undergrad school. So, you know, we in a whole nother ball game. So it's one of those things. I think TLA kind of said it, where you go, you know, what do you say or do? So, you know, I just wanted to address that real quick. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Community Solutions. You was getting ready to say.
Oh no, I wasn't. But we touched on
I didn't
this.
know
I
who
think.
was talking. Was it my favorite?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was me. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Heck, I was gonna address or say to the Ingram experience. Age is not directly proportional to how many body counts, especially these days. There are plenty of young girls that have way more bodies than me, and I'm an older woman. surprisingly, I have less than 10 partners. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or bad thing, but these girls these days, age means absolutely Nathan. Okay, so it's basically, I mean, and I really want to ask too, how do y'all feel about like someone like Sierra, who we don't know her sexual history per se, but is assumed because she has a child that she has, and the kind of men she was with have a lot of partners, but then she married one of the most influential bachelors there are. Like, how do y'all feel about that dynamic?
Do you
Should
want?
she
Okay.
have? Should he
Okay,
have a little
hold on, hold on.
looker?
Hold
Can,
on,
can,
hold
can I
on.
answer that question, Uncle Stu?
The only reason I'm going to hold that question
Okay, all right, all right, all
this is
Oh,
right.
okay, I'm
easy
sorry. I thought it
because
kind of
that's
ties
gonna
in. I'm sorry. My bad.
yeah,
Okay, my bad.
that's gonna switch my whole narrative.
I
The
know
Oh,
the
okay, okay,
focus
okay, my bad.
the
I thought
focus
it
is
kind of
going to
fits
be
in
on what
because you
happened
talk
with
about bonding.
TLA.
We're not going down
Yeah, you
that
talk about
What
hole.
I
bonding.
will tell you, it is a question, and I will definitely table that question because you do have a right to the answer for that question. So I'm going to put that question in my little book, and make sure that's going to be a topic.
That's a whole nother
So
live.
I
Okay,
got
we can
you.
do that. We can do
I
that.
got
We
you.
got you. I got
I
you
Hey,
too,
got you.
Unc,
baby. Okay,
put me on
okay,
that
okay, okay.
collab.
Hey,
You can
thanks
get a
for
younger.
blocking that hole, Uncle Stu. You know that was going down a dark hole, right?
That was going somewhere.
And
That was
in
definitely
return,
going
he was
somewhere.
ready. He was ready
Yeah.
to pounce too.
But what I'm going to
Oh,
do, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to do is I'm getting ready to close down this live
Yes.
stream.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
am so honored. I am so blessed. And, my first thanks for this live stream is definitely going to be the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, because a lot of people
amen,
don't know
amen.
where I came from. They don't know the struggle. They don't know all the ins and outs of my life. And a lot of people don't know the pains I've been through just to get here. And for me, this has been a 35-year journey. And to get to where I'm at, and to have a YouTube, to be up here with my firstborn child. Like I said, y'all don't know the story yet. And for us to get here, I'm trying to hold back tears because y'all really don't know. But I thank y'all. I really, truly thank you for coming here, for supporting me. We're going to definitely have much more conversation because we're going to be about healing. We're going to talk about the tough conversations, and we're going to get through this, because if God can do this for me, I know he can do it for you. If God can heal my child who almost died 4 times and came back, trust and believe he can do it for you too. And we definitely gonna do this together, So I just want to thank my brothers for coming here and representing, and showing my sisters that we got a voice. We got a voice too. And we about, doing the work, doing the hard work. You know, I want to again thank, Big Guy Journey for reaching out, pushing me out there. I want to definitely thank, Miss B Finesse. She's been putting me on our platform. And she was the one that started a YouTube and kept saying, "Come on, Unc, you could do this." It was on her platform where my name got changed. She's the one that, taught me a lot of different things. And I learned from y'all, and I'm on these YouTube streets. I definitely thank my daughter. Y'all really don't know. I thank her a whole lot, because even before I started YouTube, she was the first person I talked to. And she was that one that said, "Do it, go for it." So when you start seeing background changes and all of this, it's all her. She's the one that gave me that flag, and then the rest of her sisters just followed suit like dominoes. So, I definitely thank my daughter for doing this and seeing her daddy come from nothing to something. And that's huge. That's huge. So let's get ready to end this. And at 2 o'clock, especially for the ladies, y'all go hit Miss B Finesse up. She's gonna do an awesome live. She's an educator, she's a mother, she's a wife. Miss B Finesse, shout out to you. Shout out to your husband. You tell him he better be ready to cam up with Uncle Stu, because I think Miss B Finesse's husband, who's also, been hearing Uncle Stu, the old man on the block. And Tiana, I don't know if you see this, but Miss B Finesse thanks you as well. And
Thank you.
I thank see, there's somebody else that is listening, and that's my left hand, my right hand, my little tech advisor, and I had to give me an assistant, y'all. So, she's been holding it down. Thank you, Ray. I know you out there, and whew, boy, been working. Listen, I thank all of y'all. I love y'all. And as soon as I get ready to do a live, y'all know I'm going to post it up. Again, this is Uncle Stu, the old man on the block. I love you. Peace.
Peace.
Bye.